Welcome back, True Seeker. It seems TFR is without sound tonight. And again, when it's without sound, it always makes my job a little bit more difficult because on my end, on a screen, I see when I'm supposed to talk and when it's back from commercial break, but it's not working tonight. So, anyhow, normally you'd hear those Chris Geo, Donald Trump, Joe Biden remixes and some of the ads, Extendivite. We might not have that tonight. I know that's not everyone's favorite anyway. But yeah, it seems like we're on one of those muted nights. But this is still the regular Wednesday TFR show. Again, every Wednesday night. Been doing it since 2016. TFRlive.com. Most weeks it sounds like a radio show. Tonight it might be a little bit awkward because of the silent pauses during the breaks. But the big story tonight. Madeleine Albright dead as the world leaders gather in Brussels, Belgium for the NATO conference tomorrow, March 24th. And the thing about Madeleine Albright being dead today, March 23rd, the day the world leaders are gathering before their meeting tomorrow, is, as they've talked about in the news, and you've probably heard it today if you've had it on, Madeleine Albright, one of her big things as Secretary of State under Bill Clinton was to expand NATO into Eastern Europe. And the headline today, CNN, the early read on the conference, NATO to expand forces in Eastern Europe. This is exactly what Madeleine Albright wanted. She just happens to be dead today at that infamous age of 84. But I want to go back to her speech from April 23rd, 1997. This is Madeleine Albright. The subject was NATO enlargement. And again, April 23rd, 97. This was 19 days after NATO's establishment anniversary, which was April 4th, 49. NATO had just turned 48 years old at the time. She came to the United States of America from Eastern Europe in 1948. Of course, in Gematria, both Russia and World War equal 48. So is the word Illuminati. Might make you think of the 48 laws of power. And of course, the reflection of 48 is 84, her age of death. But let me read from part of her document from April 23rd, 97 about NATO enlargement. She writes, "Why are we enlarging NATO? Clearly, if an institution such as NATO did not exist today, we would want to create one. We would want to build the strongest possible partnership with those European nations that share our values and our interests. Just as clearly, if we were creating a new alliance today, we would not make the old Iron Curtain its eastern frontier. We would not leave a democratic country out in the cold because it was once, against the will of its people, part of the Warsaw Pact. The only question we would consider is this: which democratic nations in Europe are important to our society and which are willing and able to contribute to our security? In other words, we would not be confined by old thinking or zero-sum calculations from the Cold War. We would begin to think in entirely new terms about what a European continent, whole and free, would look like, and what our relationship with Russia and other key states on such a continent would be. That is exactly what we are doing as we plan the enlargement of NATO, strengthen its partnership for peace, build the New Atlantic Partnership Council, and develop NATO's new partnerships with Russia, Ukraine, and other European nations." Isn't it funny that that's exactly how it's worded? Develop NATO's new partnerships with Russia, Ukraine, and other European nations. Right from her document. And, of course, that's the big conflict right now, right? Russia and Ukraine and possibly other European nations. With regards to her doing this in 97, it's funny that this comes today. Rambo's been doing a lot of work lately on the Trinity and also Poseidon, who has the trident, the three-headed spear. And the trident is the coat of arms for Ukraine. And it's in tribute to the emblem of the royal state of Volodymyr the Great. And it's been Ukraine's coat of arms since 92, since a year after the Soviet Union dissolved. Actually, not even a year, just months after the Soviet Union dissolved. The Soviet Union dissolved Christmas Day 91. This coat of arms was adopted on the 50th day of 92. And what's so interesting about this, though, is in light of Albright giving this speech in 97, in Gematria, Poseidon equals 97. And of course, Poseidon carries the trident. And the color scheme of the coat of arms for Ukraine is gold and blue. It's the official description. Gold and blue, trident. Gold and blue, just like Poseidon, equals 97. And just yesterday I did the video on how September 11th happened 97 days before Pope Francis's birthday. And again, remember, the trident was part of the architecture of September 11th. And Osama bin Laden was killed 97 weeks before Pope Francis became Pope, the first Jesuit Pope. And we know Pope Francis was supposedly over in Russia on the 56th day of the year. But that was February 25th. But also, Osama bin Laden, who was supposedly killed 97 weeks before the Pope became the first Jesuit Pope, he was also dumped out at sea on the USS Carl Vinson, named after a man who died at age 97. And again, Gematria is based on the alphabetic forwards and backwards. Poseidon equals 97 forwards, 119 in reverse, a lot like the date 11/9, the way the majority of the world writes September 11th. The name Francis also equals 119, as does Vatican, in the case of Madeleine Albright, who was the woman Secretary of State when 9/11 happened. From her May 15th birthday to September 11th was 119 days later. Remember what happened 119 days after Putin's birthday? The headline came out that Putin was planning a false flag to enter Ukraine. That was the same day we supposedly killed the ISIS leader that Biden watched by video conference, which reminds us that Osama bin Laden was killed a span of 119 weeks on the nose from Obama taking office. Osama killed Obama in office, Joe Biden, his VP. And again, it was 119 days after Putin's birthday that they said he was planning the false flag to enter Ukraine. Same day we hear about the ISIS assassination. Then on the anniversary of the 93 World Trade Center bombing, all day the media showed us footage of a tower in Ukraine being hit with a missile. And it looked a lot like 9/11 with the middle of the building blowing out and the big explosion. And it's a reminder that the 9/11 attack was simulated by the federal government with Operation Amalgam Virgo on June 1st, 2001, 102 days before 9/11, the attack that they said lasted 102 minutes. And shout out to Daria. She pointed out that from the 93 World Trade Center bombing to September 11th is 102 months later, which it is. And again, 102 is the number of art of war. Remember what they just did with Ukraine. The military conflict popped off 102 days after the Superior General's birthday, 102 weeks after Activision put out their Call of Duty game about warfare that's set in a fictional Ukraine, on the first day of the 102nd week of the coronavirus pandemic that they said was the worst pandemic since World War I was Spanish flu, which came 102 years before 2020. Again, just all these rituals, all these numbers, all these parallels. And really, when you have this knowledge, you can just look and you can see that all throughout history, we've been living out a planned script. And again, all by this simple code of letters and numbers. And again, Gematria, based on the alphabetic order forwards and backwards. We were talking about how World War equals 102. It also equals 48. Madeleine Albright came to the U.S. from Eastern Europe in 1948. 97 was 48 years after NATO was established. Again, Russia equals 48, World War 48. You want to get cute? New Mexico equals 48, where Alec Baldwin shot the Ukrainian woman on the set of Rust, like Russia. Alec Baldwin, who's in The Hunt for Red October, which equals 102, the Tom Clancy novel about Russia. Again, 102 is the number of art of war translated by the Jesuits. All of these roads, they all go back to the Catholic Church and through its secret societies, very much including the Jesuits. And again, all the 48 stuff, she's dead at age 84, the reflection of 48. United States of America 84, Jesuit 84. So it's funny she gave her speech on the 113th day of 97 and invoked the Cold War, because Cold War in Gematria equals 113. That number of deception and a big number of agendas. Don't forget, coronavirus pandemic equals 113. It was declared on 11/3, March 11th. Also, on the day of these headlines, again, NATO to expand forces in Eastern Europe. Madeleine Albright has died, whose dream it was to expand NATO into Eastern Europe, where she's from. But the CNN article about this invokes the phrase New World Order. Today, Joe Biden mentions a New World Order. Could be a global shift at the NATO summit. And again, just to read a little bit more of the reporting, just so you can hear how the CNN stuck the New World Order in their article. There's so much to say about it. If you want to know more about this, I did do a video on it earlier today. But here's the CNN reporting on her death. Madeleine Albright, the first woman U.S. Secretary of State who helped steer Western foreign policy in the aftermath of the Cold War, has died. She was 84 years old. Her death was confirmed in an email to staff of the Albright Stonebridge Group, a global strategy firm founded by Albright. Global strategy, New World Order. We're still coming up on it. Albright was a central figure in President Bill Clinton's administration, first serving as U.S. ambassador to the United Nations before becoming the nation's top diplomat in his second term. She championed the expansion of NATO. That's, right there. And they got the hyperlink for her expansion of NATO. They really want you to know about that. And this is what I mean with the media just treating people like they're idiots. And when I first heard this reported, I was watching Fox News, and the guy talked about it as being quite the coincidence. Couldn't decide if he was trying to inform his audience or mock him. But anyway, she championed the expansion of NATO, pushed for the alliance to intervene in the Balkans to stop genocide and ethnic cleansing, sought to reduce the spread of nuclear weapons, and championed human rights and democracy across the globe. She was a face of U.S. foreign policy in the decade between the end of the Cold War and the War on Terror triggered by the September 11th, 2001 attacks, which again came 119 days after her birthday. Only for Osama to die 119 weeks from Obama. Only for the latest joke with Putin like we just talked about. An era heralded by President George H.W. Bush as a New World Order. That's right from the CNN article. The U.S., particularly in Iraq and the Balkans, built international coalitions and occasionally intervened militarily to roll back autocratic regimes, and Albright, a self-identified pragmatic idealist who coined the term assertive multilateralism to describe the Clinton administration's foreign policy, drew from her experience growing up in a family that fled the Nazis and communists in mid-20th century Europe to shape her worldview. It's amazing how they're getting all the highlights of the 21st and 20th century right in this write-up on her and this big coincidental death that seems to be part of a long ongoing agenda of a new world order. She saw the U.S. as the indispensable nation when it came to using diplomacy backed by the use of force to defend democratic values around the world. We stand tall, you will submit to our democracy or else. We stand tall and we see further than other countries into the future, and we see the danger here to all of us, she told NBC in 1998. I wonder if she saw her death on this exact date. It might have been part of the script. She might have signed up for it. You gotta live to 84 and benefit from all this? Okay, I'll do it. I know that the American men and women in uniform are always prepared to sacrifice for freedom, democracy, and the American way of life. This story has been updated with additional information. Well, thanks for that line, CNN. Okay. Here's what else I didn't tell you about this. In light of her being, the Poseidon figure, addressing this in 97, Poseidon's weapons, the Trident's on the Ukraine coat of arms. In light of her being Poseidon, which is identified as a female, obviously, look at this. Again, the coat of arms of Ukraine is in tribute to Volodymyr the Great. And let's not forget that we have Volodymyr Zelensky right now, the former comedian and actor who's now the president. But look at this. The name Volodymyr the Great in Gematria equals 233. Today is 23/3, the day she's dead. Poseidon, Trident. Volodymyr the Great also equals 82, like Madeleine Albright, and she's dead on the 82nd day of the year. And again, those are the base ciphers. Alphabetic order forwards, alphabetic order in reverse numerology. That's where you get the 233 and the 82. Alphabetic order forwards and backwards with numerology, the 4 base ciphers. And day after day, you look at the news through this lens, you see how perfect the rituals are, and you can really put together what they're doing. And what else is interesting is from the anniversary of Voldemir the Great's death until the military conflict popped off on 2/22, that was 222 days after the anniversary of his death. And remember, Zelensky, he's in servant of the people, which equals 222, just like order out of chaos equals 222. And the Latin for order out of chaos, ordo ab chao, equals 82. Again, just how all these numbers come together. The order out of chaos motto. The art of war tactics. Remember what art of war says, translated by the Jesuits. It's better to just take over a nation whole without even fighting the war. That can be achieved by knowing your enemy, by manipulating your enemy, by tricking your enemy. The thing that people need to understand is the Jesuits treat the people as the enemy of the world, and they're constantly manipulating them. And they're using the things that they've created, the nations as we know them, so on and so forth. But, just all of the use of New World Order today, the obvious New World Order ritual. Keep in mind, yesterday was 3/22, March 22nd, Skull and Bones Day. The Georgia Guidestones put there March 22nd, etched as they are on 1980. They turned 42 years old yesterday. But on that day, we had supposedly 2 women connected to the White House test positive for COVID. Jen Psaki with red hair from Connecticut. Of course, Madeleine Albright had red hair. And also Hillary Clinton, who used to be the First Lady with Bill Clinton. And both her and Bill Clinton went to Yale, where Skull and Bones is in Connecticut. Again, Jen Psaki's from Connecticut. Hillary went to Yale. Yale, Skull and Bones 3/22. They both have COVID on March 22nd. Cladex and Event 201, the 2 coronavirus pandemic simulations. Johns Hopkins ran all the numbers for that, founded by the Skull and Bones member Daniel Coit Gilman. That's why they call it the Johns Hopkins University with the in the front of it, which equals 322. And again, it reminds of Bill Gates, his father dying 322 days after his birthday. He was one of the people that participated in those simulations. The Supreme Court justice, that they're doing, just what they were doing with her in Oklahoma and the abortion law, it's all Skull and Bones. It's a lot to explain. But they're always having their rituals on 322. And, yesterday was no different. And again, Skull and Bones has a lot to do with the hospitals of this nation. It has a lot to do with what we know about the supposed pandemic. And with regards to Madeleine Albright, she was appointed to Secretary of State by Bill Clinton, who again went to Yale, just like the president who came before him and the president after. And that was George H.W. Bush, the father, number 41, and George W. Bush, the son. So 3 presidents in a row all went to Yale. 2 of them, the 2 Bushes, publicly members of Skull and Bones, a secret society where you do not need to disclose if you're a member. Some choose to, some not. Think about how possible it is that Bill Clinton was also a member of Skull and Bones, and really what we had there for 20 straight years, 1 term of H.W., 2 terms of Clinton, 2 terms of Bush. It's very, very possible that we had 20 years of Skull and Bones in the White House. And with regards to the 4 base ciphers, just to make a point about Skull and Bones, with the most simple cipher, Skull and Bones equals 149. Again, an enemy of the state, a movie that everybody should watch because it came out just before 9/11, is major predictive programming for the federal surveillance state. At an hour and 49 minutes into the film, hold on. We are live right now, aren't we? Hold on, let me make sure we're not disconnected. Okay, looks like we're still live. We're having trouble on the TFR though. Apologies. For some reason I thought we got disconnected there. Okay, but the 4 values of Skull and Bones. 149. At an hour and 49 minutes into Enemy of the State, again, he looks down at his watch, and the time is 3:22, and he repeats that time several times. September 14th, 14/9, like 149. That's when Bill Gates' father died, 322 days after his son's birthday. The Supreme Court justice who can't say what a boy is or what a girl is, she refuses to comment on these things. She refuses to comment on, all the trending topics that they're dividing the people of the world with. Again, just all part of this big show just to piss people off even more and make people pick sides even more. Her birthday's 14/9. And yesterday when she was talking about abortion, which was getting a lot of headlines, and child pornography, which is getting a lot of headlines, one of the stories that came out on 322 this same day was what happened in Oklahoma. So here, let's go through the 4 base ciphers of Skull and Bones, and then we'll talk about how Oklahoma and their abortion ruling factors in. So Skull and Bones with the most simple cipher, 149, like we talked about. If you use numerology, it equals 41 instead of 149. George H.W. Bush, number 41. Skull and Bones president. Dies November 30th, 11 plus 30, 41. Skull and Bones in reverse equals 202. That's the Washington, D.C. area code, 202. In reverse with numerology, it equals 76. George W. Bush, born July 6th, just like Daniel Coit Gilman, who founded the Johns Hopkins University. Daniel Coit Gilman's birthday is the same as Bush's, 7/6, and his name equals 76. In Gematria, Oklahoma equals 76. 2 big stories out of Oklahoma yesterday. One was they passed the most restrictive abortion bill ever, and it came 202 days after Texas's very restrictive abortion bill. 202 days later in Oklahoma. Oklahoma 76 like Skull and Bones 202. And then also that day you got a story out of Oklahoma about 6 teenage high school girls being killed in a car crash. And again, it just seems symbolic on Skull and Bones Day when the majority of abortions done are by, maybe not the exact majority, but a huge percentage, young teenage women who aren't ready to have a child. And, they were emphasizing headlines from the Supreme Court justice that had these same numbers coded in yesterday. The point is, you pay attention to these numbers, you see how they're used ritualistically again and again by these societies, and things become real obvious every year on March 22nd that this is exactly what they're doing. It was just like after the March 22nd shooting at the Kroger store, King Soopers last year in Colorado, a detail came out that they counted they identified the last victim of the shooting at 2:02 a.m. They just had to put that in there the next day. And again, you just pay attention with the knowledge you see. This is exactly what they're doing day after day. And some things, again, are a lot more obvious than others. Madeleine Albright, first woman Secretary of State dead, at the same time the first black woman going through the process of becoming a Supreme Court justice, shortly after the first woman goes in the Oval Office as VP. You see how this just works? While the first black woman is on the path to becoming Supreme Court justice, the second black Supreme Court justice is supposedly sick in the hospital, Clarence Thomas, and that's in a week after his wife was all in the headlines for supposedly being at the January 6th insurrection. Again, just all these contrived rituals. The way they use these people like they're pawns and puppets, but to steer the minds of, maybe pawns isn't the right term. Maybe what's the next highest piece up on the chessboard? But it's more like we're the pawns, and those other that next class of piece. Is it the next row starting on the outside? Is it the rook? Is it the castle? Whatever it is, the world's a chessboard to these people, and they play with us day after day by this simple little code. We are coming up on the commercial break. It's going to be hard to identify the commercial break because there's no sound so far tonight. But let's take our first call. We got about a minute and a half till the break. And just so they don't have to sit through Rambo's whole segment, let's go out to 828. 828, you're on.
Hey, Zach, what's up?
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing well, man. It's Fermenti.
Hey, man, thanks for calling back. 2 weeks in a row, first in line. What's on your mind?
Oh, well, I told you I could get a strike, man. I totally did. And I was doing a 54 code to show the order's fingerprint on the food. And I got the first half of the code out, And then the second half, that video got a strike. So some people reached out to me, and we're gonna do like a more of a private roundtable around it, and that'll be cool. So when I do get out of timeout, I'll do a upload on where that's gonna happen. But you had said free to find truth. Is that? Can I look there?
What about free to find truth?
I want to contribute to this, make some people some money, and kind of show the fingerprint of the order, but on like a higher level. These people play the food like they play the sports teams. Like the code that I did around the 54. It was around the Epstein-Barr virus being discovered in 1968. It being 54 years later in 2022, and showing how they did a stock move, and that's what I got the video strike for, was showing people how they made the money on it and pointing fingers.
I see. Well, free to find truth to share all content, so it'd be a good place to promote your work once you post it. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I need a place to post it because, I need to find a place that's not going to delete it or block it, because I got a habit of not being able to talk about it even without the codes, because these, for example, if you've got your engine up, the order, right, 54. Well, the Epstein-Barr virus, the way I tied it in was to show that the fingerprint code is that these people are order abkeo. They divide like the double-headed eagle, and their whole method is, and you'll see it in their logos, is the Vesica Pisces, the first stage of cell division. So 2 is their part of their riddle. And so, you divide 54, you get 27. The company I was talking about on the NASDAQ is NASDAQ ABUS 27. Divided again, it's, and take the decimal out, that'd be 135. Boom, it takes you up to what the company sells, which is immortal B cell. That's what they sell, 54, 135. And then with the 81, that throws in so what I was doing was just showing that they create these. A lot of people get confused when they look to the food codes, thinking, oh, they do it by the moon, or they do it by some god or something. These people want to write their name on the sun, and they want to rise by the moon. So I was just showing the dualism of the code and how to do a stock pick and how they actually transfer a whole ton of money. And so that's why I got the strike, man. But I want to share that information, so I'll get up with it.
Okay. Definitely just start posting on Free to Find Truth. Anytime you put content, link it there so people will see it.
We'll see on the anniversary, on the 54-year anniversary of the big sacrifice to Molech, and it's all around Omicron and how they. Omicron was a big party reveal. It was the reveal of a child, something that they created, and it's all around fetal DNA, because that's the thing they're putting on the altar is our children, because the thing that company sells, put it in the engine, umbilical T cells, fetal DNA stem cells. That's what they sell, and so you'll notice that those numbers are all bouncing back and forth, and there's a simple division code, because they don't really have to hide it, because nobody gets that they're working on this level. And what Fermenti has to offer is what I've found is the alternative, which is to eat healthy. For one thing, I loved your video today showing us to eat some salad. Heck yeah, and more of that, bro. But there is actual serious numerology around molar weights, chemical composition, and when I showed this code about the Epstein-Barr, see, they're worshiping this thing as a god. See, selling immortal B cells. What was Epstein into? Immortalizing B cells. Barr covered it up. There's a virus. These things are. If you type this in, I think of them as the abortion cell. They are an abortion cell.
Huh.
They've become the thing they've created. 54, abortion cell. Check it out, 7254. So that's the thing, is that this is just a digit on the pinky of like what I on one platform I spent 6 months trying to bring this out, and it was supposed to be a free speech platform, but no, it got blocked there too, because these people they'll start a nuclear war in the country to hide this one. Like, this is the big deal, you know, on the genetic modification. It's all about the food ingredients. I could go on for like 30 minutes probably and blow your whole show on how they name food ingredients by the numbers, and how you just don't want to shop at a store. You want to go down to your local farmer's market, talk to your hippies, and buy like the crunchiest, grubbiest food you can buy, and you'll be doing so much to fix the problem. That's 90% of it right there. The other 10% is chelating out what they've done to you.
Well, great information. And again, where can people find your channel?
It's just Fermenti LLC. Just look up that, Fermenti LLC.
All right. Yeah, it's too bad you're getting the strikes, but you can try posting on Free to Find Truth and see what happens. So.
Oh, well, you know, I'm open to that, because I really feel like if I can show people how to make some money at it, maybe that's the vision they'll want to, you know, run with.
Sure. Indeed.
And that'll give it the coverage. Yeah. The thing you said the other day about people's horizons, that's funny, you know, the sun also rises, bro. It's like broadening people's horizons. It's like, you know, eat good food and your horizon will broaden just by doing that. And your heart will open to truth on its own. But, you know, in a world of poisoned food, when you're being poisoned from birth genetically, and their fingerprint is all over it by design, and there's a way out genetically. Like, we can breed our own healthy probiotics 54. We can breed our own non-grift probiotics. You know, it's a symbiotic relationship, and it's beautiful, because the natural Gematria that they stole, that's all that stands in the way of recapturing that healing power is their number game.
Indeed. All right. Well, I appreciate all the information, and I'm glad you're calling back in. Thank you so much.
Well, you know, maybe next time I could do a little tabloid headline for you.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, isn't that like that's the win the crowd, Maximus?
Right. Yeah. Please do that next time. All right, friend. Appreciate the call.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Cool, man. Peace out.
All right, man. Have a good night. All right. And now it is Rambo's time to shine. And again, for people listening on the radio, sorry, I don't have the sound on my end tonight, so I'm probably going to be running into the commercials and talking through the commercials. Apologies. It's tricky when there's no sound. But let's go over to Rambo. And as always, I'm sure he's got something brilliant. His contributions are making more sense by the day. How you doing tonight, friend?
I'm doing all right, thanks. Can you hear me? Good?
Absolutely. And again, just a reminder, people, Rambo does have his YouTube channel right now. It's perfect at 3.22K subscribers at this moment. But that number should climb up a lot. Again, you guys, if you're not following Rambo on YouTube, he's doing brilliant work. So.
Yeah, it's called The Truth Codes.
Yes.
They've already restricted some of my videos. I was informed that I did some videos on AI and the Sophia robot, which is going to be mass-produced. I'm assuming it'll be sometime in 2024, well, for the first time, mass production of these AI humanoids will be produced. And they informed me that they are age-restricting that video. There's nothing in that. Yeah, they've age-restricted it. Like, if anyone has seen that, I wasn't talking about sex robots. I mean, they're saying there's some information in there that could be harmful to children. I mean...
Is there one thing you can think of? Is there like one thing in the video that you're like, maybe that's why? Or is it just like totally just how?
I was looking at some of the things they say could be harmful to children, and they say depictions of violence. Maybe the fact that I showed the Hanson Robotics logo, how it looks like that horizontal explosion from that iconic picture from 9/11. Okay, I mean, yeah, but I mean that's kind of stretching it. But I did show a lot of clips from David Hanson, how he's trying to stress that humans are dangerous. You know, don't make contact with humans. You can get sick from humans, and of course, he's trying to push the idea that you're better off with a humanoid robot. I push that over and over again. And I think that really is a big part of their agenda, and that's probably, I wouldn't have thought that would be the most controversial of videos, but
sure.
Apparently, yeah. So they told me it's age restricted. It's not a strike, but that means that if somebody is not signed in to YouTube, you just on it without being signed in. They said that video cannot, it will not show up. So they're admitting that they are suppressing that video. And yeah, it's about AI, and which is my whole point is that it is a major part of their agenda. It's been foretold and predicted. I didn't even realize I really looked into it, how saturated the entertainment industry, TV, television, movies, going way back, has been talking about this issue.
Sure.
And yeah, so they've age restricted it. Well, yeah, there's nothing at all harmful to children in that. But yeah, so I've already got the YouTube suppression has started already.
Indeed.
Also, another thing I want to clarify. Yeah, there's another thing I want to clarify. I've brought this up several times. Is that there is somebody on Twitter and on YouTube who calls himself Rambo, and he tells people that he's me, and that's not me. I don't go by Rambo. So just to clarify that.
It's amazing how many trolls there are, and just the stupid stuff they do. It's really pathetic.
Well, this guy's been around for a while. I don't think he can make a name for himself. I mean, I don't know, but he decided to go by my name, and I've seen him tell people that he's me, and some people are onto it and have told people that's not me. But I don't have a copyright on that name. Anyone can use it, but he's actually. I guess my name only has value in this Gematria community, so that's where he pretty much communicates. But just for clarification purposes, from time to time, I have to remind people that I don't go by Rambo. The Truth Codes is usually what I'll go with, my channel. But earlier you were talking about blue and gold and the trident. I actually did on my Patreon. I talked about Barbados, the country of Barbados, Rihanna's home country. They have a blue and gold flag with a trident on it. So yeah, it is a prevalent theme. And Barbados was in the news late last year because they officially became a independent republic, and the Queen of Britain is no longer a sovereign there. So Barbados was in major news last year, and Rihanna is a major symbol of that. She's a Pisces.
They've had that flag since '66. That was the year they broke ground for the World Trade Center site. They didn't start construction, but they prepped the ground for where they would build it in '66, so I find that interesting. And isn't Rihanna pregnant right now? So I'm just thinking about Breaking Water, Poseidon. Huh.
Yeah, she is. He is expecting, yeah.
Yeah, when is that?
But she's a huge symbol. I did. Yeah, it's on my Patreon if you want to see that. Yeah, so Barbados and Rihanna, very symbolic.
Okay,
and,
that's great research and connections. I remember they announced she was a billionaire, and if I remember right, it was 201 days from her birthday. That was a recent thing that maybe happened less than a year ago. So, huh.
Yeah, so all these things, when you look at the heart of these rituals, it's the ancient gods. They never stopped being honored. From the beginning of civilization, these ancient deities are still influencing what happens. That's what they're using. So
now, Rambo, I got to ask you something. Somebody left a comment and said that you and I both still don't get it because the gods are actually here on Earth. These gods still exist, and that's why these rituals happen around them. Well, what do you make of something like that? Do you think that's within the realm of possibility?
I mean, it's in the realm of possibility. I'm not saying I know for sure what they are. In fact, I've never said specifically what they are. In fact, I was just saying it right now. Like, I think the gods the ancient gods are still in in control. And I said, I don't know what that means, whether it's symbolic or to what degree it's historical. So I just said, I'm not saying for certain that I know. I'm not that arrogant to say that I know exactly who these gods are, the nature of these gods. These are ancient archetypes, and all I can say is the pattern showing that they are being acknowledged, but I'm not saying that I know for sure what they are exactly. Yeah, whoever's saying that, they might be right. I'm open to the fact that they might be right. I'm not even saying that I know for certain what they are. Sometimes it's symbolic, and some of them may be physical beings. Yeah, some of them may be physical beings as well. I'm not saying I know for sure, but I can see the patterns where they are influencing events. So that's what I say. I never said for certain what they were.
Yeah, and I think you're always very fair about things, and some people do claim to know things that seems impossible to know unless you were one of them. Maybe it was Poseidon themselves posting in the comments, but anyway, it says Rihanna's expected to give birth either at the end of April or start of May. Have you looked into this more for what the date is?
No, I haven't anticipated, but if it's... Okay, so it looks like the child will be a Taurus. And so that could be...
Madeleine Albright was a Taurus. Rambo, Madeleine Albright was a Taurus born May 15th. Well, there must be some relationship then with Taurus and Poseidon if she's filling in with these Poseidon numbers in the ritual going on. Is there something there?
There's a famous painting, the artist's name is Botticelli, called The Birth of Venus. This is one of the most famous paintings. It's up there with Michelangelo's paintings. It's The Birth of Venus. It shows a female on the shore with a shell. She's coming out of a shell, and that female represents Venus. It's the birth of Venus. The shell represents Venus, but it's aquatic because they're saying Venus came out of the ocean and she comes out of a shell, so they're equating Venus. So Venus rules Taurus. It's a ruling planet of Taurus. And the seashell has always been a symbol of Venus the goddess. So there you have an association between the sea and Venus. And that goes back to ancient Sumerian, their pantheon, where they had the chief god was Anu. And Anu is the father of Enki and Enlil, who are more famous, I guess, to people. Enki and Enlil. He's Poseidon, he had the trident, but Enki got the trident from Anu. But the wife of the consort of Anu was Asherah. And so all three of them are related with the sea and the trident. So Venus, the goddess from the sea, is Asherah. Asherah is the consort of Anu. And in Britain, they have the goddess, it's a Roman influence, but Britain has a goddess called Britannia, and it's a female who holds a trident. And that comes from Asherah, who is... Asherah is the consort of Anu, and Anu had the trident, which Anu gave the trident to Enki. And then they had the Sumerian War of the Gods between Enki and Enlil. The Enlil faction won the War of the Gods. So what you see now with the trident is being destroyed. They're not honoring the trident. They're not honoring Poseidon. They're putting the trident on the World Trade Center, and then they're destroying the World Trade Center. So it's not... even like Malaysia aircraft, they put the trident on the aircraft and then they crash the aircraft. They're not honoring the trident. Very often when you see you'll see that the numbers for a certain planet or a certain deity will emerge in a ritual. So you need to ask, are they honoring it or are they desecrating it? Because when you see something manifest in a ritual, they're not necessarily worshiping it, or because some people say, oh, they worship this or they worship Saturn or they worship Jupiter. Not necessarily. What they'll do is every planet or the deity entity has multiple characteristics, and I guess these people they're magicians, you could call them, or sorcerers. What they do is they draw from that entity, that aspect of the entity that they want for their intention. So just like Mercury has multiple characteristics. The god of transportation, they say people appeal to Mercury for safe travel, but Mercury is also the god of thieves. So if you're a thief, called the prince of thieves, then you appeal to Mercury as well. Or if you're a trickster, you appeal to Mercury as well. But Mercury is also the messenger of God, who has, spiritual knowledge. It's a God-man who comes to Earth with spiritual knowledge. So it depends on what aspect of that entity that the magician either wants to celebrate or invoke or wants to suppress. So in the case of the Trident and Poseidon, which came from Anu and Asherah, that's who the Venus character is, they're destroying it more often than they are celebrating it. It does have some victories. Like Rihanna is kind of an indication of more like a victory of the Trident, because she was celebrated just as Barbados becomes independent, at least on the surface. I mean, all these countries, they say they're independent. All these African countries used to be under the British Empire and other European, like French Empire, but they're really not. In substance, they're really not independent. But at least on the surface, that's one indication of the Trident, I guess, victorious, you could say, position. So yeah, so Venus is Asherah, who's also associated with the Trident. So I think that is why Rihanna will have a child in Taurus, because Taurus is ruled by Venus. That's how I take it.
I see. She happens to be 34 right now, like Ukraine equals 34, whose coat of arms looks a lot like Barbados' flag. Rambo, did you see the video I put out yesterday on Pope Francis and 9/11?
I don't know, but yes, I saw a video of yours with, you were talking about Neptune,
So,
you bringing the Bin Laden, they threw Bin Laden's thing into the body into the sea. Is that the same video?
Well, yesterday I put out a new one because I realized a few new things. From the last day of Pisces, which again is ruled by Neptune, as you taught us, whose weapon is the Trident. From the last day of Pisces to September 11th is 175 days later. And of course, Flight 175 is the second plane to hit the building. And when you write out Holy Trinity, it has the same values as Pope Francis in all four base ciphers. Well, it's forwards and backwards, but they have the same four number values, Pope Francis and Holy Trinity. And one of those values is 175. And another value is 122. Again, Bin Laden was killed on the 122nd day of the year in Operation Neptune Spear, the Trident, as you talked about. So 122, 175, they connect with 9/11 and the killing of Bin Laden, who it's blamed on. And from the attack on 9/11 to Pope Francis' upcoming birthday that year was 97 days. Poseidon's 97 forwards. And from the Bin Laden killing to Osama's assassination, or from Osama's assassination to Pope Francis becoming Pope was 97 weeks later. And again, just the Poseidon 97 and 119 thing, like Francis and Vatican are 119. Today, Albright's dead, who was Secretary of State when 9/11 happened. She became Secretary of State in 97. From her birthday, May 15th, which you've been talking a lot about as well, until September 11th is 119 days later. And again, coincidentally, because of the Russia-Ukraine thing, they're meeting about that, and she's dead the day world leaders are getting there. And again, just everything you're saying, the coat of arms, and now bringing in the Rihanna piece. Do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I did see that video. But 122 is also, the thing with these numbers, they represent so many other things. So sometimes it's unclear what exactly the number represents. Like, so 122 is involved also because in Hebrew, gematria. In Hebrew, Venus is Noga. So in the Hebrew alphabet, Noga, which is Venus, comes to 122. So 122 actually is a big Venus number. That's actually one of the first full decode that I put up on my channel was about 122 and how it comes up in relation to Venus in multiple languages. One of the commenters, I said I gave an example of 5 languages. One of the commenters gave me another example of another African version of Venus, which also has 122. 122 is also a Venus number, and Venus is very related to this because Venus also is related to Islam. Friday, their holy day, is Venus Day, and the Prophet Muhammad named his daughter Fatima Zahra after Venus. So, I mean, whether or not modern day Islam looks at it that way, you can see that they are honoring the ancient, the original archetype. whether or not modern day acknowledges it, that's actually what they are honoring. And they are constantly, I think Venus more than any gets persecuted. And yeah, so Venus is a big part of this as well. So 122 does relate to Venus, and that's why they have Osama bin Laden. Islam was blamed on 9/11. So you're blaming Venus in a way for it. That was the scapegoat. So bin Laden ties in there as well. And another thing about Pisces is you have to remember, it can get a little complicated. Pisces has two ruling planets.
Jupiter and...
which is Neptune and...
Jupiter, right.
Yeah. So it can get confusing. And the thing is, when you relate it to the Sumerian War of the Gods, Enki is Neptune, Enlil is Jupiter. They're enemies. They're opposing forces. And if you see the fish in Pisces, they're opposing each other. They're not going in the same direction. The fish are going in opposite directions. So that's part of the yin-yang of Pisces. So Pisces can be invoked for Neptune or for Jupiter. It depends. And Jupiter, by far, that is the main of all these entities. Jupiter for the Vatican, by far Jupiter is the one. I mean, Saint Peter is Jupiter. That's who is Pater. Peter is Jupiter. That is, of all the entities, that's the one they I don't know if worship is the word, but that's the one they celebrate or venerate, at least, more than any other is Jupiter. Like I said, with the others, you're going to take parts of every entity that works for your intention. Because there's a positive side of Jupiter. Jupiter is considered the most positive planet in astrology, the greater benefic. That's not what they're invoking, clearly. So yeah, it's not black and white. I hope I haven't confused people. It is a lot of information can get confusing, but there's the one thing to remember with Pisces is they have two ruling planets and they're actually opposing yin yang.
Well, it's always very interesting. Just the one other thing I'd point out to people, since it's timely, tomorrow, March 24th, the official day of the NATO meeting, that's the 83rd day of the year in the time of Aries, and as Rambo's talked about, Aries, the ram, the god of war, Aries equals 83 in Gematria. They're meeting on the 83rd day of the year. And with regards to the Rams, remember, they just won Super Bowl 56. Los Angeles Rams equals 83 like football. The head coach, his fiancée, just happens to be a Ukrainian model. And remember, Matt Stafford, the quarterback, just became the 34th quarterback to win a Super Bowl at age 34. And you're talking about Rihanna, who just turned 34 on February 20th, about right at the same time all this was popping off. Ukraine's 34. There's been headlines about the 34-year-old who's in charge of nuclear waste at the federal government, whose qualification is a LGBTQT activist, or however many letters are in that acronym. But do you have anything to say about NATO, the military alliance, meeting on the 83rd day of Aries, besides what I see in it?
Well, when you brought up 34 is also a Jupiter number, because if you look at you have to look at the very significant is the magic squares of each planet. And the sun and the moon also have magic squares, all the way up to Saturn. After Saturn, the planets don't have magic squares, but those are very important. The magic square of Jupiter, which is 4 by 4, 34 is important to that because every row sums to 34, every column sums to 34, and every diagonal sums to 34. So 34 is a major Jupiter number due to the magic square of Jupiter. So that's the thing. I know it gets kind of confusing. It's not black and white. So Rihanna being a Pisces, she is both Neptune and Jupiter. So the 34 with Rihanna might be have to do with the magic square of Jupiter. So when you see them invoke 34, you have to consider the magic square of Jupiter as well. And again, this might be an ancient conflict that's continuing. That ancient conflict, War of the Gods, it might be either symbolically continuing or literally. Because if you look at ancient times, and even the Hindu religion, the Bhagavad Gita, they talk about a war of the gods with really powerful weapons, and there is a part of India where there is radiation. It's from ancient times. There's extreme radiation in that area, and you see the bones are melted into the... It was a pretty advanced civilization for its time, and people died suddenly. There does seem to be some evidence of a major event, catastrophic event in India, where it involved radiation. So some of these, that's what I was saying, some of these myths are historical. Some of them are symbolic, some are historical. And that story from the Bhagavad Gita of this war of quote-unquote gods, whoever they were, it could be literal. That back in those times there were advanced nuclear weapons, and there does seem to be hard evidence of that. And that might be, I think some of this nuclear stuff might be the continuation of that ancient war. But again, 34, that's also a Jupiter number.
Very interesting. Okay. Well, I'm keeping you from your main presentation, so I won't keep you off that main presentation more, Rambo. You're welcome to get into that. I appreciate you answering all the questions.
Yeah, I don't mind. I know it's a lot of information, and I came up with it over several years. I don't expect anyone to just absorb it all at once. I know it's kind of confusing because, in general, nothing's ever black or white. I mean, I like for things to be simple, but sometimes it's just not that simple. There's a lot of gray area and a lot of moving parts. That's why I'm not definitive saying, oh, I know who these gods are. No, of course not. I mean, there's a lot of it's pretty complicated. So yeah, I talk about Madeleine Albright as well here. The title is Ever Forward, China Eastern Airlines, Spring Equinox Rituals, and the Cult of Cybele. So the container ship Ever Given, I talked about this last year extensively. That was a very well-received decode last year. When the Ever Given got stuck in the Suez Canal last year. Well, that happened at this time. It was a spring equinox ritual, as I demonstrated. It had to do with Osiris. Osiris is a vegetation god related to the sun. And Osiris was resurrected. That's what the obelisk represents. So around this time of year, like clockwork, you will get spring equinox rituals. I think this is the most consistent time for major rituals. If you can just identify the elements of that ritual, you will see, like clockwork at this time of year, the equinox-related rituals. Because this used to be, since ancient times, the ancient practices have not stopped. They continue. Now they do it in the guise of news. Oh, but this was the time of major celebration, the return of the sun after the harsh winter. That was like the biggest celebration of the year. Winter's finally over. They didn't have technology where you could fly in vegetables from warm climate. You didn't have that. Winter was rough. This was the major time of ritual and celebration in the spring, but they're still doing it today. And the Ever Given, it was a container ship and owned by it's Evergreen Marine are the ones who they own the container ships. It's a company in Taiwan. So that Evergreen was very popular. It's become a worldwide popular symbol now after the Ever Given got stuck in the Suez Canal. But the Evergreen Marine, it's a Taiwanese company. They were founded in the year 68, and you've talked about the year 68. So much seems to go back to 1968. I don't think we've seen all the extent of it, but 1968, that's a real watershed year. Well, here's another one. Because Evergreen Marine, apparently, after 2 years in a row, at the same time, spring equinox, there they are again, Evergreen Marine. They were founded in 68. And again, an example I give, you've given a ton of examples, but the World Trade Center, the beginning of construction of the World Trade Center happened in 68, and those are the Twin Towers. So you see twin symbolism here. And again, Gemini is ruled by Mercury. Mercury is Roman for the Greek Hermes, and Hermes comes to 68. So that relates to twins. And so you have the Twin Towers you're building in 68, but you also have twin incidents. The Evergreen container ship getting stuck at the spring equinox, and then again the following year. Those are twin incidents. So this is twin symbolism you see here. And also Mercury, I was saying how these entities have multiple characteristics. One of the, I guess, the realms you could say that Mercury rules is commerce, as well as travel and transportation. So in this container ship saga, you see two realms that Mercury rules, commerce and transportation. In fact, you'll see that Mercury, the M-E-R-C of Mercury, in the word commerce, commerce, as in Mercury, or merchant. So Mercury is said to be the god of financial gain and commerce. And so Mercury is affected here. And again, it's founded in 68, which is Hermes. And so now you could call it the sister ship or a twin ship. It's probably not exactly a twin, but it's a twin incident. There's another Evergreen Marine ship, and this one is called the Ever Forward. It is stuck in the Chesapeake Bay. The only difference here, Chesapeake Bay is much wider, so it's slowing down traffic, but it's not stopping traffic, and it's very close to Washington, D.C. I think it just left Baltimore, I think. It had just left Baltimore, and then it got stuck and ran aground. For whatever reason, it left the channel. We know what the reason is. It's for the ritual. It's the spring equinox. This is when they do these things. And it's between Virginia and Maryland. And so another twin symbolism we see here is, you see, Washington, D.C., when it was created, it was created by Freemasons who incorporated elements of the ancient Commission, ancient Egyptian culture in Washington, D.C. I mean, the most obvious one would be the obelisk, which is the biggest obelisk in the world, which is a major religious symbol of ancient Egypt. So there are twin symbolisms. This happens near D.C., which is a quote-unquote a twin of the location of last year's Evergreen Marine ship running aground near Egypt in the Suez Canal. And I guess the Potomac River, it's most likely a symbolic Nile River, which D.C. is on. And it was March 23rd is 2021. That's when the Ever Given got stuck. So as of March 23rd, the 1-year anniversary, the Ever Forward is still stuck in the Chesapeake Bay. So this anniversary is honored. They weren't going to get it unstuck before the anniversary. It had to be there before this anniversary. It's a spring equinox ritual. That's what it is. And again, so the name Evergreen back in the world headlines again. And that's the Secret Service code name of Hillary Clinton. So Hillary Clinton is being invoked here. Evergreen, that's her Secret Service code name. And she's in the news. So she has to be in the news. This will let you know. They won't just have Evergreen there. Most people won't get it. Evergreen, that's Hillary Clinton. But she happens to be in the news. She announced on March 22nd that she had the corona. I mean, I'm afraid to even say it because they're shutting people down for it. But she has the flu, the big flu. She announces it right as the ship is stuck. That's not a coincidence because she's out of the news. She's long out of the news. She's not in politics. She's not a pundit or any kind. Why is she in the, she has to get in the news to fulfill the ritual because Evergreen, she is related to Evergreen. So, yeah, so Hillary Clinton has been injected into this narrative. And this tweet I took a screenshot of just happens to have 20.1 thousand likes, 2.01 likes. So they got their 201 in there. And so this is another twin symbolism because Hillary Clinton was a female Secretary of State. So around the same time, again, of this spring equinox, another female Secretary of State is in the news, and that is Madeleine Albright, because she died. All this is happening at the same time. That's not a coincidence.
And again, I got to remind people, Hillary went to Yale, where Skull and Bones is, just like her husband. And by the way, her husband also went to Georgetown, and Madeleine Albright taught at Georgetown, the Jesuit school. So you got the Skull and Bones School, Yale. Skull and Bones modeled after the Knights Templar, the Templar cross, and the Jesuit logo. But on March 22nd, 322, Skull and Bones Day, Hillary's sick with COVID, and so is Jen Psaki, the White House press secretary, another secretary, Secretary of State, press secretary. And she's from Connecticut, like Yale. And you gotta say, what are the odds of this? Plus, Jen Psaki has red hair like Madeleine Albright, and then Madeleine Albright is dead the very next day. What are the odds of that? I mean, this is the kind of stuff where it's like, even if you don't understand gematria or astrology, the types of things I had no clue about for the longest time, I could still see the news was always playing with us. Always these coincidences. Like today, they're talking about the coincidence of how she lobbied for NATO to expand into Eastern Europe, and now there's a meeting to do just that right as she's dead. I mean, it's just like, come on. Sorry, Rambo. You got the floor again.
That's okay. It's a good addition. So Madeleine Albright's birthday is May 15th, and I talked about the importance of Mercury here. Mercury rules the realm of transportation and commerce, which is what this ship is related to, both those. Now, the annual celebration day of Mercury in Rome was called Mercuralia, which is May 15th. So she was born on Mercuralia, which, on one hand, yes, she's a Taurus, she does represent Venus, but she also represents Mercury. So she dies at a time when, again, this is not a celebration. So you see Mercury symbolism here, but are they honoring Mercury, celebrating it, or desecrating? No, it's actually more of a desecration to have the ship stuck. Because Mercury rules travel, and then you have travel restriction. Mercury rules commerce, then you have commerce grinding to a halt. Not just in this instance, but worldwide. So this isn't really a positive time for Mercury. And then she represents Mercury because she was born on the Mercury celebration day, and then she dies. So no, this isn't. Don't look like positive rituals for Mercury in this instance. Now, the name of the ship Ever Forward, it brings to mind the name of the person who appointed Hillary Clinton as Secretary of State, which was Barack Obama. In 2012, his campaign slogan was "Forward." That's the first thing I thought of when I saw the name of the ship Ever Forward. Besides, obviously, the connection with the other grounding incident, but I saw "Forward." I saw this is the campaign slogan. And yeah, Forward was Barack Obama's slogan, which was part of the ship's name, and Barack Obama appointed Hillary Clinton. He didn't have much choice in that one. He pretty much had no choice. Forced to do that. But yeah, so officially he appointed her, and so the name of the ship is relevant as well. Now another thing is, at this time, just the same as the last time we grounded, there was an ancient Roman spring celebration. Again, they're still celebrating these things. It's called Hilaria, and I think there was a break. We probably talked through the break, right? But anyway.
Just go ahead. Yeah, we're just going to go through the break tonight. We're just going to go through the break.
All right. Right, so there was an ancient Roman spring celebration, a spring festival. It's called the Festival Hilaria. And now this ties in, again, Hillary Clinton. Not a coincidence, Hilaria, Hillary. And what are the dates for Hilaria? Hilaria was from March 22nd through March 25th. So Hillary announces she has the flu on the 22nd during at the start of Hilaria. And you're talking about what are the odds? Come on, it's one thing after another. I mean, this many, one or two could be a coincidence, but this is over the top. But this happened at the spring equinox. It's a very important. I think this is the easiest time of year, I think, to identify a ritual and the roots of the ritual, because this is such an important time. Is the spring equinox.
Rambo, I got to share this. I just made an additional observation. I forgot that Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State. I don't know how I forgot that. But from her birthday, October 26th, to Madeleine Albright's death is her 149th day of her age, whereas for Bill Clinton, the death comes 149 days before his upcoming birthday, and of course, Skull and Bones equals 149, and this is one day after 322, the Skull and Bones number. It's just like, I mean, that right there should make people snap out of it. Anyhow, continue on, Rambo. I'm sorry, I just realized that in real time with your Secretary of State example. So I wanted to show how the double Skull and Bones encoding's in there. And again, it's just in the most simple cipher. A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, D is 4, Skull and Bones is 149, the 35th prime.
Yeah. That's another thing to consider, obviously. But so March 22nd. The start of Hilaria, and then Hillary is in the news. The thing is, she shouldn't be in the news because she's not a pundit on television. She's not in politics anymore. But they have to interject her in the news for some reason because of the occasion, spring equinox. There's really no reason for her to be in the news. But here she is again.
Right.
The Hilaria Festival, which the Hilaria Festival celebrates the mythology of Cybele. There's a goddess named Cybele. And think of Cabal. That's actually the root of that. Now, Cybele had a consort named Attis. This was a vegetation deity, Attis. And the mythology is that Attis severed his male genitalia, and this is supposed to be symbolic of losing fertility when going into winter. So that's what that is said to symbolize. And then Attis is resurrected at the spring equinox, because he's a vegetation deity. And at the spring equinox, when vegetation comes back, Attis is revived. But what happened is, so the cult of Attis, they had priests, only male priests. They were called Gali. And what the cult of Attis did is they took that myth, not as a myth, but literally. And the Gali priests of the cult of Cybele used to mutilate themselves and sever their own male genitalia. They took it literally. It was not symbolic of them. They literally did it. And then they would live the rest of their lives as female. They dress in women's clothes and they'd be considered female, and males would actually marry them and stuff. Yes, that is the cult of Attis.
Huh.
And that's the legend. And this is the key. When they severed their genitalia, they did so under a pine tree. So the pine tree and the pine cone symbolism is directly related to the cult of Cybele for that reason. And what is a pine tree? It's an evergreen tree. So now you see how it all comes together for the spring equinox based on the cult of Cybele. So where do we see pine cone symbolism? Well, we see it at the Vatican at the Fontana della Pina. It's a giant, humongous pine cone, very spectacular sculpture. And it is flanked by two peacocks. And that's part of the twin symbolism. There's a lot of twin symbolism going on. Like the two Secretary of States, that's twin symbolism. The two evergreen ships getting stuck, that's twin symbolism. And on the whole 68 theme, twin towers. So twin symbolism is throughout everything. No matter what you look at, what area of life you look at, they're really pushing twin symbolism. Well, here it is with the pine cone and the two peacocks at the Fontana della Pina. In fact, the location of this is on the location of a former temple to Cybele. So they really are referencing Cybele at the Vatican with this, because that's what used to be on that very location, a temple to Cybele. So so there's the pine cone and the two peacocks, and so forward and evergreen. That was the name of on the containers. Evergreen is called the Ever Forward. Well, we've seen forward and evergreen before. In 2012, Katy Perry, she famously campaigned for Barack Obama with his campaign slogan "Forward" on her dress in the concert, and that was part of this. It's a part of this ritual as well, because in that same year, I don't know what song she was singing. She probably was singing the song, because she had released the song "Peacock" that year in 2012 as well. And you have to see, when did Katy Perry release the song "Peacock"? It was March 6th, the day after Hilaria Festival ended. So you see the same things over. This is from the ancient forward, the peacock, the cone, the time of year it happens. She released the song "Peacock" March 26th, the day after Hilaria. And the twin peacocks, so there's a twin symbolism, just like you have the twin incidents, the twin Secretary of State in the news at the time of Hilaria. That's way too much that's very well orchestrated. These are spring equinox rituals. But now, where else have we seen the peacock symbolism in the news? Well, it was with the crash of the Chinese Eastern Airline, because in part of their, I wouldn't say it's their logo, but it's part of their design. They put peacock feathers on their plane. So the Chinese Eastern Airline flight 5735 that crashed on March 21st, this is the spring equinox, it had the peacock feather symbolism on it. And the peacock, when the peacock's feathers are spread open, that is said to represent a sunrise. And the spring equinox is symbolic of the sun rising on the year after being dead in winter. So a peacock is related to a sunrise, which is why it's so much in the symbolism at this time. So yeah, there was peacock symbolism there as well. And another place you've seen peacock symbolism at the spring equinox is in March Madness, where it's still the early stages, but a team that has impressed is St. Peter's University from New Jersey. And
Jesuit
they are known
school.
as the peacock.
Jesuit school. They're Jesuit school, and what's hilarious is they're
Yeah.
the 15 seed, and the word war is 15, and you think Russia, St. Petersburg, you think about the Soviet Union dissolving into 15 nations, And yeah, St. Peter's Peacocks start the big Cinderella run on St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, so I mean, it remains to be seen how far they go, but yeah, definitely the peacock symbolism. Again, maybe you'll miss this. It's on the plane. The peacock symbolism was on the plane that went down at the equinox at a time when the peacocks are doing really well in a spring equinox tournament. I just one last reminder, 2021, another incident. This was shortly after the equinox, but it's around the time of the equinox. It's during Aries. Aries is that sunrise zodiac sign. That's when Dante Wright, and again, twins. It was in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul. Dante Wright. Remember that he was pulled over and shot by police because he had the air freshener in his car, which is the pine air freshener, which is a ridiculous reason to pull someone over and then lose their life over. But the main point of that whole ritual, which is what it was the pine tree. That goes back to the call of Cybele. So yeah, that's the decode for today. But the symbolism and the time of year, ancient practices still being exercised today.
Indeed. And again, Roman history. Hilaria. Yeah, great catches as always, Rambo. I was gonna give you some advice for your Patreon. It might be more effective for you to post all your videos publicly, because the more people that find your work, the more people they're going to support your Patreon. And if you have time and know how, maybe I think what would really drive your Patreon subscribership is if you started advertising, like weekly, to do a live stream and take people's questions, because a lot of people have questions for you, Rambo. And if people had access to be in conversation with you, if that's something you can do, I think that would be a good strategy. So, just throwing that out there.
So you're saying to use Patreon for just do the live streams exclusively on Patreon, because people want to know. Because you know how people are. If you put everything for free, then they're just going to take it for free.
People will support you, though, because they want to support you, and they won't even really so much care about your Patreon content. But if there is something that they can get some exclusive access and call you if there's a 2 or 3 hour window a week where you're doing a live stream and you're taking calls to answer people's questions. I know a lot of people have questions for you, so it might be a thought.
Okay. Yeah, it's a consideration. Actually, when after my first month, because I was decoding the Super Bowl a lot, I guess some people thought I was going to be a sports channel, like predicting sports.
Sure.
Because I just happened to be doing the Super Bowl. I'm doing more from the esoteric, the symbolism part, the tiger, Jupiter, Job, all that stuff I'd done before. I think they realized after that, because they wanted to know, okay, so what about your NBA? What do you recommend for NBA and all that stuff? And I think I lost like 12 subscribers after that, because they realized, well, he's not a...
The people that only care about sports outcomes. Yeah, well, the good news is there's a lot more people than just the people who care about sports outcomes, and that's the greater majority of the community. But yeah, I think if you had a weekly advertised window on Patreon to do a live stream and take people's calls and questions, or if you can do it more than once a week, I think that might be a hit, because people know that you're a waterfall of knowledge. So, just a thought.
Yeah, I appreciate that advice too. That sounds like good advice.
Was there anything else you wanted to chime in with current events?
No. Off the top of my head, no. I've covered a lot today. I don't want to... If you give too much information, then people forget. I think I've already kind of loaded a lot of information out today.
Sure. Indeed you have. All right, Rambo. Well, I appreciate it as always. Great work, great research. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Thanks again.
All right, yeah, you have a good night.
All right, take care.
Yeah, take care. Okay, we got a lot of people on hold, so yeah, there's probably about 20 people on hold right now. We should be able to get through all 20 callers, because we're not really doing the commercials. We're just going right through them. So sorry to the people just listening on TFR if the commercial break's tough. Again, we are streaming on YouTube if that's easier to do tonight. The latest channel is GematriaEffectNews 25, thanks to all the censorship. We just count up as the months go on. But let's go out to Illinois, 331. You're up first. If everyone can keep their call to a minute or two, we'll get through everybody. 331, you're on.
Hey, what's going on, Zach? How you doing, buddy?
Doing well. How are you?
Yeah. I'm doing good. I'll keep this quick. I didn't realize I was going to be right after Randall. I just wanted to throw out there too. That was definitely just a great conversation before he gave the breakdown. Just having that open dialogue like that. Just a lot of juicy information. Definitely appreciated that. So just wanted to throw that out there. But today. So this is about a news article that came out, or an article on TMZ for Mike Tyson. And so it came out today, this morning at 8:46 a.m. And so basically there was Mike Tyson was he was on top of a club doing a comedy show. It was yesterday on 322. And there was a guy that tried to start a confrontation with him and pulled out a gun. And then basically nothing bad happened, but I think it could possibly be like a hint for something in the future to happen to Mike Tyson. Because if you look at the numbers on it, so Mike Tyson equals 41, like Skull and Bones equals 41, Iron Mike Tyson equals 187, like Brotherhood of Death 187. So 322 until Mike Tyson's 56th birthday. Is 3 months and 8 days, like Murder 38, Lucifer 38, and in the pictures on the TMZ article, there's the word sunset, and sunset equals 64. That word has a lot packed into it just itself. And then blood sacrifice is 121, and Mike Tyson's birth date, 6/30/1966 equals 121. So yeah, no, I just wanted to throw that out there. Nothing bad. I mean, he didn't die, but I wonder if it's like a clue. Maybe something's going to happen down the line to the guy, like maybe by his 56th birthday or something. So, but yeah, no, good conversation with Rambo, and yeah, good show, Zach.
All right, yeah, appreciate the heads up. And yeah, just the club being called Sunset, again, just the whole sun symbolism. We know who runs the show, the Sun Cult, so appreciate it. I wasn't aware of this story before. Thank you so much. You have a good night.
Oh, yeah, not a problem. Have a great night.
All right, take care. All right, let's go out to George. Hey, George, you're on.
Hello, Zach. How are you doing this evening?
Doing well, thank you.
Okay, well, I was going to talk about Madeleine Albright, but you, Rambo, basically covered all that. So one of the things you mentioned about Albright is that, among other things, she was a professor at Georgetown. She was also a member of the Council of Foreign Relations. And I think Rambo mentioned her birthday was the 15th of May, 1937. So she and her family came to the U.S. in 1948 when she was 11 years old. So it probably be redundant to really talk about her. But this is something you want to say, that Albright, as you said, was the first female Secretary of State, and Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton's wife, was the second one. And it's interesting that allegedly Hillary tested positive for the corona hoax, and Madeleine Albright died. Oh, she tested positive yesterday, and Albright died today. Okay, a couple of things I just wanted to mention. Can I just talk quickly about Ukraine?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, one of the regions over there, now this may sound like a stretch, is, I realize this is a transliteration from Ukrainian, but one of the major regions where they're fighting over is called the Donbass, D-O-N-B-A-S or B-A-S-S, depends on how they translate it. But doesn't that sound somewhat like dumbass?
It does. Donbass region, the way they've been spelling the media is 201. Yeah.
Okay, so are you saying, is it possible it could be a bit of a joke?
Of course. Isn't everything these people do a joke? I feel like everything they do is a joke. I mean, again, Obama, how obvious is the joke? Almost a decade of scaring of Osama bin Laden and Saddam Hussein, then we get Barack Hussein Obama. I mean, how obvious is the joke? 9/11 Patriot Act, Patriots win every Super Bowl thereafter. How obvious is the joke? You know what I mean?
Okay, well, regarding Ukraine, so I guess Russia launched their attack a month ago on February the 24th. And the Western media, for the most part, has painted Vladimir Putin as Attila the Hun, Hitler, and Saddam Hussein all rolled into one. Whereas Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, is Winston Churchill, John F. Kennedy, and Haile Selassie all rolled into one.
Right.
So not only is he a president, a statesman, he's also an actor, a comedian, a dancer, a screenwriter, a soldier. Man, he can do it all. I mean,
well, literally do it all. He even has
the
the what is it, like 5 or 6 minute video of supposedly playing the piano with his junk. If you guys haven't seen that, the clip's out there. It's even on YouTube. It's like 6 minutes of him and apparently his Big Johnson just slamming all over the piano keys. So.
Oh, well, I'm sorry, I wasn't aware of that one. So I guess over the last several weeks, he's spoken to 4 different legislatures. The European Parliament, I believe, in Brussels, the British Parliament, the Canadian Parliament, and the joint session of the U.S. Congress. Now, he's tailored his message somewhat, but so to ingratiate himself with the audience, he'll tailor his speech to what their country he's speaking to, such as, you mentioned this last week. When he was talking to the U.S. Congress, he said he made reference to 9/11, Pearl Harbor, and I have a speech. Or rather, I'm sorry, I have a dream. Well, yes, he had a speech. So, and if you look at him, something that strikes me is odd. Supposedly, he's not only Zelensky's not only fighting for the survival of his country, but is also fighting for his physical survival, because allegedly Putin has a contract on him or something like that. But he doesn't look disheveled. He doesn't. His eyes aren't bloodshot. He doesn't have bags in his eyes. He looks as if that he's just come back from the barber and that he may have had a manicure. Now, that's just simply my perception. So do the speeches seem a little contrived?
100%. 100%.
And so we're okay. Now, I'm not exactly sure what's going on in Ukraine. Now, I know you showed a video last week of, I guess, a British reporter talking to some Ukrainians who are supposed to be terrified. And one of the Ukrainians asked, hey, so is pot legal in Britain or something like that?
All right.
Well, somebody's running for his life. That seems like an odd question to be asking.
Exactly. He didn't seem the least bit worried about anything. He just wanted to know if they had the legal cannabis over in Britain as well, because he was on the legal 420, as he wanted everybody to know, and he was just having such a great time. Yeah, what's hilarious though is when the reporter gets done interviewing him, they turn the camera, and then there's some more people walking the bus, and she's like, you can just see how terrified these people look, and it's just like, wow, after that interview, you're really going to just get right back into it with the next clip? I mean, it's just... Again, it just shows you what news media is and how these people on TV, people need to understand, are villains, liars, propagandists, people just doing their job, BSing the audience. And I mean, that scene that just came out of Ukraine with the dude who just wanted to talk 420 and the legal cannabis, I mean, it was the ultimate clip to just cut through the BS. So.
Okay, so I realize, just one other thing. If I could just mention about the Jackson Brown or Brown Jackson, whatever her name is, hearing. To say they're a joke would be a bit of a simplistic understatement. I mean, one of the senators who was querying her yesterday was Patrick Leahy from Vermont. He was born on March the 31st, 1940. So he's 81, almost 82, and he's been in the U.S. Senate since 1975. So for close to half a century. So they basically, the U.S. Congress is filled with these people who are covered in cobwebs. They're 80, 90 years old. They've been there for 40, 50 years. Now, that's another conversation altogether. And, of course, Leahy is qualified to be in Congress because, one, he got his law degree from Georgetown, and he's a Knight of Columbus. And I believe he went to some private Catholic college in St. Michael's. So that is how he became qualified to be in the U.S. Senate for basically forever.
Okay. Interesting.
So, and you can mention, and Chuck Grassley from Iowa, he's almost 90. And I don't mean to sound, germophobic or anything like that, but are there more qualified people in Vermont or Iowa or California to be in the U.S. Senate?
I asked that about so
Younger
many of
people?
these people that are in office. It's just like, come on. I mean, yeah. So I hear you.
Yeah, you could talk about the Cuomo family in New York. I know Andrew is no longer there, but his dad was governor. Or you could talk about the Trudeau's up in Canada.
I hear you. Yeah, the family affairs. So.
So it always helps to have a nice Jesuit education. That guarantees you longevity.
Yeah. You know when JFK coined the term Jesuit Ivy?
I did not.
Yeah, he did that. I believe it was on June 13th. June 13th, 56, the day John F. K. referred to Jesuit Ivy, talking about the comparison between Jesuit schools and Ivy League schools. But yeah, I found it funny he did that on the day leaving 201 days left in the year. I'm pretty sure at the end of the day, a lot of schools, whether they're an actual Jesuit school or not, are controlled by the Jesuits. Again, I'll remind people that Jesuit order in Gematria equals school. They have the same value. And I'm pretty sure that, the majority of, and not to mention the oldest existing university in the world is the Vatican, and the second oldest is Oxford in the UK. But I'm pretty sure that the majority of schools, whether they're actually Jesuit schools or not, at the end of the day are controlled by the Jesuits. You consider that most people are using the same history books, the same science books, and pretty much the Jesuits are controlling all the publishing and everything. It's easy to say that the entire education system's Jesuit. So.
Okay, and one last comment before I sign off. When I believe I sent you the video about Albright's death, and you probably knew about it before I sent it to you. But guess how many comments there were? This is from, I believe, PBS.
I don't know. 201?
How do you know?
Well, they like to put that number everywhere. I can't tell you how often, like, a major article published, it'll say, like, where it has the total comments, it'll say 201 comments. I'm like, is that even true? I mean, are they just putting that on the page? So, yeah.
Okay, well, I guess we'll have to pick this up next week then.
All right, George. Appreciate the information as always. You have a good night, friend.
We'll take care.
All right, you take care too. All right, George, fan favorite. Let's go out to 346. 346, you're on.
Hello?
Hello?
Oh, yeah, okay. Yo, what's up? So, real quick, I didn't know if you know this. Speaking of something that has to do with good old Billy Clinton, did you know that Bill Clinton was part of DeMolay?
It makes perfect sense because, again, that's Catholic. He's at Yale, likely a member of Skull and Bones. That's Catholic. I mean, it would all just go together so well.
Yeah, I was just looking around one day, and I just found a list of people that was in DeMolay, and Bill Clinton was right there. So I didn't know if you knew that. I just found it's very convenient, considering somebody that's in reference to Bill Clinton. So that's all I wanted to share. So.
All right. Appreciate it. Great observation. Thank you.
All right. Take care.
For people who don't know, the most famous member of DeMolay is Walt Disney, whose full name equals 201, Walter Elias Disney. A lot of 201s there with the Disneys. I believe the two-bit Disney brothers were born 201 days apart. 201's effectively the number of the Jesuits and the Templars. It's coded into Skull and Bones. Again, all these things connected to Roman military orders. And again, Clinton went to Yale. So he was between the two Skull and Bones presidents. He might have been a member of Skull and Bones himself. It's just not publicly disclosed. Wouldn't it make so much sense? Let's go out to Toronto, and then we got young Ben on the line next. Toronto, you're on.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello?
Yeah, you're on.
Yeah, okay. Sorry. So basically, like, just in my town, Toronto, there was a guy that went missing on February 19th. His name was Asif Razek. He was 41 years old. So I typed his name into the Gematrinator, and his number and his name in full reduction, I believe, was 41. So I mean, and if you look at the picture of the dude, he doesn't even look like he's like a real dude or whatever. So I mean, yeah, the big numbers there. But the other thing too is I'm going to be starting up a company, so I was just kind of hoping to get like your word on what's a good name. I was thinking of using like Gematria by the Numbers Maintenance Company, or Gematria Maintenance Matrix. I don't know, something like that. If that's like a cool idea or anything like that.
So it sounds like your company is definitely related to Gematria. It's your company, so whatever name resonates with you. I mean, I don't think you'll make the wrong pick. But yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate that you're starting something to bring more attention to the work. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right. Yeah, you take care, friend. I'm not the right person to call for fashion advice, name advice. These are all things I struggle with. Sweet lady. She'd probably be good at that. Let's go out to young Ben. Young Ben, how you doing, man?
Hey, Zach. How are you?
Hi, Zach.
And hello, Natalie. Again, our Gematria love couple. So now all in one call. What's going on tonight?
Not much. I just saw. I wasn't gonna call in, but I saw something I had to. And I checked your website. I didn't see you have it, but maybe you did. The new mayor of New York City, Eric Adams, announced today on Kyrie Irving's 30th birthday that he's going to lift the vaccine mandate for all New York athletes. On Kyrie Irving's 30th birthday, vaccine equals 30. And he's going to make the announcement officially at the Jackie Robinson something or other tomorrow. And then Kyrie Irving drops 43 points tonight when Irving equals 43.
So does pandemic.
Amidst all of this.
So does pandemic.
Yeah.
Hey, Kyrie Irving's from Melbourne, Australia, too, just like Ben Simmons, who was part of that big trade ritual with James Harden earlier this year. I didn't realize he was also from Melbourne, Australia. What?
Well, no surprises there.
And this whole post that Ben showed me on Instagram.
Kyrie Irving's Instagram. Kyrie Irving makes Instagram posts that are like very like symbolic.
Yeah.
Like the
show messages.
Like they show like painting type, pictures of like some kind of symbolism. So I showed it to Natalie, and she said, "Yeah, this is like really involved in like slavery and race."
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, we know slavery is 30, the N-word is 30, the vaccine is 30, and on his 30th birthday, he makes that post and the vaccine mandate that he's been the face of gets dropped, or they're making announcements they're going to drop it.
And then a lot of Native American cultures, so you put like the feather on to go to war, like you're a warrior. Then the Statue of Liberty is black, holding like what seems to be like a black slave. So like, man, this is kind of like slavery. This is like Native Americans are probably some most well-known people of genocide.
Yeah.
And so, like, it's definitely hinting at something. That's another word we did not decode as genocide. Yeah, we thought that was very interesting.
It is, and it's just like, even the mainstream articles have pictures of Kyrie Irving all over the place, but I don't know if they're mentioning it's his birthday. But, yeah, I mean, it's just it's undeniable. Again, 30 was coded all over the woman's name, too. Got the first vaccine, Sandra Lindsay, on the anniversary of Sandy Hook, and then Steph Curry's ritual this year on the anniversary of Sandy Hook with the 3-pointers as the third vaccine was coming out. Yeah, and again, for all the people out there who use Kyrie Irving as proof of people in the celebrity world who are speaking up for the flat earth, again, here's another example of what Kyrie Irving really is and why he was talking about the flat earth, is that PSYOP rolled into Google and pretty much destroyed the credibility of the truth community. But, yeah, unbelievable on his 30th birthday. It's just great find.
Yeah, like New York City is 33. There's something about him, like the Statue of Liberty. New York is 33, sorry. And then Irving is 43, like the N-word is 43, and then
No.
the N-word is not 43?
No.
Oh, 42. My bad, 42.
But you know what's funny is that on his Instagram post today, like at least when I looked at it on my phone, like like on Instagram, if there's a bunch of comments, like if there's a comment by someone that you follow, then they'll show that. But if you don't follow anybody, it'll just show like a couple random ones before you click on it. On the comments, you can see more of them. Well, the one that it showed for me was somebody with 102 in their username.
Huh.
I just thought that was funny.
That is funny.
That on purpose.
The one other thing I got to say about Kyrie on his 30th birthday is that's how many teams are in the NBA. 30 teams. The National Basketball Association equals 113 like coronavirus pandemic. 113 is the 30th prime. Remember, the NBA was locked down the day the pandemic was declared, and Kyrie Irving's been the biggest, public villain of the vaccine in terms of the world of athletics. So, yeah, it's just, it's undeniable. Great find. Yeah, I didn't know about this until you called in.
By the way, I don't know if you're trying to show your screen, but it's stuck on the Free to Find Truth sign-in page.
Yeah, I have it stuck there. I'm going to put up this. I'm making the post on the Kyrie thing while I talk to you at the same time, so I will put it up when I'm done.
Oh, okay.
Here's a bit of a funny story. The other day, I was playing The Sims, and then his friend said, "Why are you playing The Sims? The only thing that's sounds in my head is Zach ranting about..."
Yeah, this is the rant from people like fantasy more than reality, which I think The Sims sums up pretty.
And then we decoded that, and it turns out Will Wright not only has Jesuit numbers, he was born on 20/1.
Yeah, January 20th.
201.
Yeah, 201.
Wait, whose birthday was that?
Fun decoding it.
Whose birthday?
No, not Jay Wright. Will Wright.
Will Wright, yeah, Will Wright.
Will Wright, the creator of The Sims.
Yeah, so we were having fun with that. So, Ben was kind of making fun of me for playing The Sims.
Huh,
He's
that's
like,
funny.
"You're playing a genuine game."
That's funny. Hey, one other thing I thought about. Today is the 82nd day of the year. Of course, COVID equals 82, and so does pro basketball. 82 games in a regular season, so Kyrie's got a fitting birthday.
Yeah. Oh. I was thinking, I know 200, today's 23/3 too, and 233 is the 13th Fibonacci number.
Right.
I'm sure there's something there. Oh, I think Nets equals 13.
Yeah, that's right. And Brooklyn's 41, the 13th prime,
and,
yeah.
Yeah, and 323, I think Lucifer is 323 in Jewish gematria, which is, similar jargon to, the satanic symbolism, and we know all about New York and 666 and the vaccination stuff in 666.
One other thing about COVID in 82. Today, Moderna asked for emergency authorization for their children's vaccine, and from what I heard, it sounds like they have 3 doses ready to go for children. So,
what, the 2 to 4 year old?
I'm not exactly under 6. It says under 6, so that must be the 2 to 5. And remember, they first put that out on the Pope's birthday, and Pope is 25. That they'd be doing that for children 2 to 5.
That's delightful. I just quit college golf today because they wanted to test me every time, every week before a match. And for the one match that's on a Saturday, they wanted me to test Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I said no. I'm not doing that. You know what the crazy part is that even the people with 2 doses have to do that too. The people with 3 doses don't. And it's what an ass backwards world.
And in my college, here's a great one. 3 good things from my college. Yeah, the first thing is when they updated their fire safety code, they said, "We know that social distancing is hard, so everyone has to wear their mask when evacuating a building from a fire. And I just bursted out laughing when I heard that in class all night.
But the teacher highlighted it.
Yeah, the teacher highlighted, the professor highlighted.
Yeah, like it's the most important. Like that's the most important thing about when you're escaping a burning building.
The second one was, since they dropped the vaccine mandate, you have to do a COVID checklist.
Yeah, and then get a yellow star.
Yeah, it was the yellow sticker. And you show the COVID symptom checklist to the security office along with your student ID. And then you get a yellow sticker to put on your jacket to show that you're COVID free.
Funny. Yeah, just like you're a little kid. And it goes right in with the little kid vaccine. So here's the thing. The little kid vaccine, it says 2 doses, ages 2 to 5, 2 25 microgram doses. And then they emphasize 6 months, actually age 6 month to age 5. Well, there's a 5 and a 6, 6, 5. But then they say that the 2 vaccines should be given 28 days apart. Kind of like how COVID's 28, and reminds me of that film 28 Days Later. But, yeah, that's also today on the 82nd day of the year. Of course, COVID 82, we all remember Merck's pills getting approved on the 82 date that have the 82 on the side of them. So a lot of COVID news today on the 82nd day of the year, only fitting.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know, wasn't it March 22nd, 2020 was the 82nd day of that year. That's when that's when a lot of places closed down, right?
And I see it in the chat, someone from Ontario also. Colleges and universities can deny your religious exemption for the jabby jab, which is against the law anyway, but they're somehow treated like...
They don't care.
They don't really care at this point.
Care.
Yeah.
And by the way, speaking of that, I mean, right before the Ukraine mess started, obviously Canada was the country that was in the news the most. And I saw something here. I saw something yesterday that it was posted last week about, hold on. It was something about Ukraine becoming the first country to fully implement here it is. Ukraine just silently announced it's the first country to implement the World Economic Forum's Great Reset by setting up a social credit application combining universal basic income, a digital identity, and a vaccine passport, all within their DIA app, spelled DIIA. DIA app. So while the whole world has their sympathy over what appears to be a lot of fake footage. A lot of the footage that I've seen, I don't really watch mainstream media that closely, but I've seen, people reporting all the fake footage that's being shown. Some of it is literally straight out of actual movies.
Yeah,
and then
the cardboard guns.
Fox News. Fox News showing cardboard guns.
And then Ben had to ask me if they were airsoft guns. I'm like, yeah, those are.
Oh yeah, airsoft guns.
Airsoft, yeah. I'm like, they will probably give you a bruise,
but
they won't put it go through your skin.
And then Sean Penn is on the ground in the country that's where the president's an actor. I mean, that totally doesn't sound like a play or a movie, right?
Sean Penn goes to Poland, land of my ancestors. But yeah, it's been long known in Poland that Ukraine is a very corrupt country. So there's a lot of organized crime and tied in with the government there. So, and then with Russia too. So they are I don't know. I wouldn't take sides on that one. People are duped to take sides, and that's from an Eastern European.
Yeah, they're
Eastern European.
Yeah, they're just trying. I mean, honestly, I don't know what the Ukrainians themselves think about all this. I mean, we've seen what the one guy thinks. Obviously, he wants weed. But I mean, one thing I've heard is that there are a lot of Ukrainians are trying to leave. whether they're trying to leave because of Russia or because of what their own president, what their own puppet movie president is doing to them. I mean, that remains to be seen. I remember a clip from years ago when Russia was supposedly invading the Republic of Georgia, that like some little girl went on TV and said that, you know, she was trying to escape, but like the Russian soldiers were helping them, but the Georgian soldiers were like the bad guys.
Yeah. And what did my mom tell you about our cousins? She's saying that in Poland, so my cousins are in Poland, and a lot of Ukrainians are flooding into Poland. So that's a fact. But what are they flooding from?
Yeah.
Like, what are they escaping from is, like, that's the thing. Like, it may not be Russia, maybe just gang violence, because Ukraine is, like, very corrupt. And I looked this up, like, Homeland Security, the U.S. Homeland Security said in, like, 2013, they had a report of the three most corrupt countries. First was Colombia, then Brazil, then Ukraine. So that was one of the later ones I found. So there was a long time reporting on Ukraine and their corruption.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
It's not like...
I was gonna say, in light of what you pointed out a minute ago about Ukraine and the Great Reset, again, the whole Ukraine thing popped off 47 weeks after Klaus Schwab's birthday, and Ukraine equals 47. And again, he's Mr. Great Reset, and we know all about 47. So.
And then the whole Ukraine theater with Biden a number of years ago, the 47th vice president. Now he's, you know, the president of the 47, the big 47 government.
And isn't Zelensky, they have neo-Nazis in their government too, in Ukraine too, so that's another part of it.
Zelensky is just,
yeah.
I mean, how much more obvious can it get? I mean, like, it's literally like, you know, there's entire, like, comedy skits about things related to what Ukraine is, like, I don't know, Steven Seagal playing, like a role in, like, some kind of, like, crappy action movie, and then, you know, and, like, he plays the role of some guy who knows a whole bunch about artillery, but would you actually invite Steven Seagal to an artillery camp to teach a whole bunch of people about it just because he played the movie role? Of course not.
And who the hell, like, would care about Steven Seagal in the first place?
Well,
I
only brought him up because of Tom Segura. But.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh yeah, and I showed and Zach, before I go, I also showed Natalie that Bill Hicks bit, Sane Man, because you mentioned that. I remember you mentioned that a while back, and I saw it myself, and I thought it was hilarious.
It is hilarious. It's one of the funniest comedy sketches there ever is. For all the people who say Bill Hicks is Alex Jones, watch Bill Hicks' Sane Man and then tell me that's Alex Jones. Alex Jones sucks. Bill Hicks' Sane Man will forever go down as one of the best comedy skits there ever was. So.
It was very funny. I cried laughing.
It's hilarious. It's hilarious and true.
Yep. Nope, you gotta have talent, George. New rule.
I gotta watch Sane Man again. I haven't watched it in a long time, but I know that skit is hilarious. I remember him doing his Elvis impersonation and everything. So, anyway.
If Elvis was a smoker.
Hey, the only reason I recommended that to Natalie was because she mentioned we were talking about drugs, and I remember Bill Hicks said something about, well, if drugs are so bad, then how come Keith Richards still walks?
And I said the same thing. Why is Keith Richards?
And he still walks. That's what's hilarious. It's like 30 years later, he still walks. So, anyway.
Yeah, it's like it was made in 1989. Now it's 2022, 33 years later, and he's still walking around. But he's 78 years old. So, I don't know. When I wonder what he'll dive for, honestly.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's great to hear from both of you.
Right.
Sorry you had to quit golf, Ben. That sucks. But I understand why you did it. But, yeah. That's too bad.
Teaching me golf.
Very cool.
All right.
All right, you two.
We'll get off.
Have a great night.
Hope people get on.
All right. Till next time.
All right, you too.
See you. All right, let's go out to Fort Worth, Texas. 817, you're on.
Hello?
Hello.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, hang on. Let me turn on. Let me get the volume up. Can you hear me?
I hear you.
Okay. I'm calling from Texas. Big fan. I feel like I know you, but we've never met, and so I'm trying my best. I'm going to try my best to get up to Oklahoma City to see you, but I don't have a car, so working on a situation where I could get up there. Anyway, are you there?
I'm here. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, I got something funny in the news. Okay. You like dogs, Zach?
Of course.
You used to have a dog?
Well,
dogs are great, right?
I've lived with a dog before, but I've never actually had a dog of my own. But I love dogs, of course.
Yeah, everybody loves a dog. This is so stupid and hilarious how the news fucking mocks us. The other day, you know what I'm going to tell you, right? Have you heard this? A man in North Carolina rescued a dog from the dog pound. Well, he gave it back. He returned it because he thought the dog was gay.
Oh, come on.
Can you believe this shit? So I did Gematria, and they were calling it gay pets. And in Gematria, gay pets equal 33. And of course, gay equals 33. I'm like, who... The fact that they have to come up with shit to talk about every day. Who are these people that come up with these stupid stories every day in the news? I mean, locally, nationally, statewide, international. Where do they hang out at? Who are these people? Then they probably use the Gematria calculator to do their news stories because, it's like here in Dallas Fort Worth, local stories. I decode local stories, and I've called you before, and I've always wondered why there is so much black on black murder, black people killing other black people, and I've discovered here locally, especially in Dallas Fort Worth, Dallas has a murder almost every day. Fort Worth has a murder every day or two, and it's usually black people that get murdered. And so I'm like, I started to do Gematria on all of these murders in Dallas Fort Worth, and 9 times out of 10, it turns out the usual Gematria numbers: 33, 38. 83, 17, 25, and 20, over and over and over. Like a few months ago, a black man was found in a car in a bad part of Dallas in the middle of the night. A cop saw him leaning out of his car door. He was murdered. And of course, the black man, he was 38 years old. And so it's like, if you're a police officer or you're a TV reporter, that's what you want to do in life. You join the police. How long is it before the other police officers know that you're informed that actually, like, okay, no one got murdered, but we're going to pretend someone got murdered, and the media is going to be here. But this is like a drill for us. This is a training exercise, but we're going to present it to the people on the news as a real event. And why doesn't anybody spill the beans? I mean, of course, they probably would suicide you if you are someone of importance and you came out with a video or a book explaining, someone that is in the business, like, somebody that would be trustworthy, and they come out and they spill the beans, like on everything, fake news, fake sports. I love the fact that you are so good at decoding the sports thing, because I never thought that they would rig a football game. But let's just have the guys play, and whoever wins wins. I mean, it's what a diabolical world, right? And shout out to Rambo. I I grew up in Irving, which is next door to Dallas, Texas. I was born in Dallas, and I know every single thing about Dallas history. And so I never realized that the entrance to downtown Dallas is shaped like a trident. That blew my mind. Where, the other week y'all talked about that. And that just freaked me out a bit. What a perfect area for Kennedy to be assassinated. Right there, the trident. I never realized that that's what they made on the road system. But I'm a huge fan of yours, Zach. No matter what, I've got to get my ass up to Oklahoma City. I'm going to get mad if I can't make it. But I'm going to, if there's anybody listening, Zach, would you mind if I give my email address out on your show?
You're more than welcome to, and maybe post it on Free to Find Truth as well, because that's where the most like-minded people are, and somebody who's listening might be from your area, and maybe they're planning on going, so it could be a carpool type of thing. But yeah, put your email out there.
Yeah. Okay, it's all small letters, no capitals, DallasPop33@gmail.com. DallasPop33@gmail.com. And so I have if someone lives in the Dallas-Fort Worth, North Texas area that's planning to go to Oklahoma City, I'll chip in gas. I'll buy you lunch. We'll have a good time. I personally can't believe, Zach, you're going to drive from Washington State to Oklahoma. That is going to be a road trip for you.
It's okay. I don't mind driving, so I'll be there. Yeah, and I plan to get there the weekend before. But yeah, Dallas Pop 33.
You're going to be.
For the people in the crowd who might be like, oh my God, 33, maybe he's one of them. Is there a reason you put 33 in the email?
Because the obvious reason is because the number is always everywhere, and I knew about the number 33 before back in the 90s or whatever, because I like to read books and shit, but I never knew about Gematria until I started watching you. I don't even know how I found your channel, but I've been watching you since you had, you using pen and paper to do your decoding. And so I know the 33, no one thinks that I'm a troll or a Mason. I just put that number there because it's funny, and I usually, when I turn on the TV in the morning, usually within 15 or 45 minutes, I'm going to hear or see the number 33 printed.
Sure.
There's a TV commercial. There's a new TV commercial. Probably does not air in Washington State. I think it's on YouTube. It's Reliant. Reliant is a Houston, Texas electric company. And so in this commercial, I nearly fell off the couch. It's brand new. It's a cartoon with an armadillo playing basketball. And then it says, get like 42% off your bill for Reliant. And then on the walls in this cartoon are two jerseys, and both have number 3 on it.
Sure.
So it's so obvious.
It's everywhere. When you're aware, this stuff's everywhere. I mean, it's everywhere all the time when you're aware.
Yeah.
Hey, friend, I really appreciate the call and the enthusiasm, and I hope you make it up to Oklahoma City, and I would post your email on Free to Find Truth. It just might catch a few more people's eyes. But thank you so much for calling in.
Thanks for that.
All right. Yeah, you have a good night.
All right, I'll let you go.
All right, take care. All right, let's go out to Panama City, 850. You're on. Panama City, 85.
Hey.
Oh, hello. You're on.
Hey, Kate. So it's not really Panama City. It's the Twilight Zone. Hi, Zach.
How you doing?
It's Barb.
Hi, Barb.
Okay. Hey, I've been listening for the last couple hours. I've got so many notes, I don't even know where to begin. But what I wanted to start out with the unfortunate Google, whatever they do, and they take how much money they do with the chats. I wrote in and I said, you know what? Don't give Google the chats or don't do the chats. Just give it to you.
if there's some way of doing it, like maybe you and I have that, okay?
Sure, sure.
In the meantime, is that
just to clarify?
Is that okay for me to say?
Just to clarify what Barb's saying. She's saying that when you donate a super chat using that function, they take a big percentage, up to 30% of the donation. Google does. And that there's other ways to donate, such as sending a check to my P.O. box or using Venmo or CashApp or PayPal. All of those ways are ways to get around the fees that Google assigns to a super chat. Super chats are super convenient, but Google does take a percentage, so something to be aware of.
Well, exactly, and I'm glad that you were able to say that, because they don't deserve anything, in my opinion, but that's my opinion.
Sure.
Okay, let's go on. About a couple hours ago, you're talking about the Sumerians, Lilith, Enoch, all this Edgar Casey stuff, which is all great stuff. I mean, it all has to do with what we are in this, whatever we are, in this time zone. Okay, and the only thing, maybe, do we need to go back maybe a little bit to the Mayans, the Incas, the Sumerians, Enoch, and, go back to Edgar Casey? He's pretty new, 1943. As far as reincarnation and as far as some of these things that, we're all trying to understand and assimilate, because in my opinion, and maybe yours, I don't know, I think we're all being, reincarnated in whatever, gematria we're being. It's absolutely mind-boggling to me, like I've told you. But if you go back to Lilith, who is before allegedly Eve, what do you feel about something like that?
About which part? The reincarnation part, I definitely agree with.
Well, yeah. Are you into Edgar Casey's?
I'm not familiar, so that's something I need to get more informed about.
It's really, really, really deep. I mean, really deep. I think he died in 1943. I'm not sure, but he was one of our prophets of this era of ours, and he had so many readings for so many people, and even people that were in government, and Reagan's and whoever, and they all had him come in, and he would tell them where they were from. Like, if you were really bad and you had to wipe out your whole history of everything, you had to go to Saturn, because if you'd murdered or killed people, you had to go back there and start over again. He was really big into incarnation, but at the same time, he was very, very ordinary when he wasn't doing his astrotheology or whatever. He'd lie down and he'd do astro, and he'd move to somebody and he would tell them what was wrong with them, and the doctors would be told what to do with them, and if they did it, a lot of times, they'd be cured. In the meantime, he was brought up, not unfortunately, I'm not going to say that, but he was brought up with biblical, the Bible. But when he went out into his astro mind, when he had his things, and he's had a whole bunch of readings there, and they're all documented in his ASTRAL, Edgar Casey, North Carolina. I think he has a whole thing there. And he wasn't under the influence of his Bible, but he was under the influence of, the universe. The universe, and his things were he was an astral projectionist, and he could go to people and he would tell the people what it was they needed to do in order to heal themselves. And after that, he got into the esoteric, and they would ask him, well, what happens to me? And then he would tell them, well, you've been reincarnated as a priestess in Rome, and you're from this one, and you're still trying to come back here and resolve what it is that you didn't resolve back in your old life.
Interesting. Okay.
So, I don't know. I mean, there's so much, Zach. But Edgar Casey, my mother is the one that told me about him, and she's gone. But, I mean, he only died in, 1943? He is his readings, when he went into his whatever astral projection, saved a lot of people's lives. And then other people came to him, including presidents of our country, and a whole bunch of people wanting to know, where they were. And it was all the thing that was reincarnation and why we are going through the incarnation. So we are. One of the things that stuck with me, though, was that if you were a murderer, not a murderer, but if you were a killer, I don't know if there's a difference. I don't know. Hopefully there is, for my sake. But if you have to go through, going through Saturn, okay, according to him, if you have to go through Saturn because you have killed a whole bunch of people, like, viciously, you will not remember anything that happened before then, and you have to start all over again. That was one of his things.
Interesting. I will look more into it.
And I will say to you, I was, born in the 50s, so, when I had a 6-week-old baby, I aborted it, so I'm a murderer. I don't know if I'll ever be exonerated from that, but I'm just saying this whole thing is really, it really deserves, somebody that can follow up, and I'm sure you can.
Yeah, I will definitely look more into it. I've definitely heard his name before. I just hadn't researched his work before, but I will look more into it. It's very interesting. So I appreciate it, Barbara.
BAYCE, and he has a whole. He has all of his notes that have been transcribed while he was under the while he was I can't say under the influence. He just put himself in a certain level, and it was all transcribed. Some of it is, from a lot of people that were really big time people at the time. They don't want their things out there, but there were so many things there, and I think that his whole area is there in I believe it's North Carolina, Edgar Casey Institute, and I'll go ahead and forward that to you, on email. But it's it really is interesting.
I will definitely look more into it. I appreciate it so much, Barbara. Thank you. And thank you for being so generous as well.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right.
I really appreciate you and everything you're doing.
Well,
thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to listen. You have a good night, Barbara. Thanks for staying up too.
You too.
Okay.
Bye.
All right, let's go out to New York. 646. You're on 646.
Hello?
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're on. What's on your mind?
What's up, boss man? Nah, I was listening to what you were saying about the Venus, the Taurus. You gotta think of the Sapphire, the tree of life. You know what I'm saying? Like stuff, like energy could just come. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't have, like Rambo said, they can invoke. You know what I'm saying? Whatever they're trying to do. So in the Sapphire, the tree of life, Rihanna gives the baby, and Taurus, you think Venus, is Venus in the tree of life that's whole.
Okay.
That's what I'm thinking. There were all the flood.
Okay, that's interesting.
The Noah's flood.
I've never researched that before, the way the astrology connects with the tree of life, but I know all these things are connected, so okay, I'm going to look into that.
And then when you have what's going on with all this, like if you was to go back in biblical times, this would be like Noah's flood. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then you had the flood where I remember you did a breakdown with Kanye West and the flood and his album Donna.
Right.
I don't know if you remember that with the hurricane. So this is a lot of Neptune, water, energy. But also, she gives a baby. It's a birth of a Taurus. Taurus is the Hebrew alphabet. The Alph, right? Is the Akshay, and then you have the bulls, the bucks win. So this is like the lead out of the flood, like leader. Like there's gonna be like a new leader. A birth of a new leader. So then when you look at the news, you might see somebody like what they say, false prophet, emerging in the news.
Okay.
It's all connected. So that's why I was going to think of that tree of life, because I know you got a Jewish background. So.
Well, that's a great tip, and I had not thought to look at that angle, but it makes a lot of sense. So just connecting the pieces further and further. I really appreciate your input on that. Thank you.
No problem, man.
All right.
Oh, and with Kyrie Irving, he got a legend. If you say he was doing the breakdown, he was drafted in 2011. That's an 11. He wears the number 11. He was first. He was the first round first pick. That's another 11. 1-1. His name Irving, I think, has a 31. 31 is the 11th prime number. You know what I'm saying? So he has a whole bunch of 11s, Kyrie Irving. And then he has a 59 somewhere in there, which corresponds, black is 59, roster, I think 59. So he's going to be looked like as a Colin Kaepernick. That's the build, I think, for Kyrie Irving. But, I want to get off, let somebody else talk. You know what I'm saying? I want to listen.
Sure. All right. Well, I really appreciate the call. You have a good rest of your night, friend. Thank you.
You too.
All right. One New York caller to the next. 347, you're on, friend.
Hello.
Hello.
You can hear me, Zach?
Loud and clear.
Hey, what's up? One more thing about what he was saying about Kyrie Irving. I think his father is born January 12th or January 11th.
Okay.
And his father is a former basketball player.
I didn't realize that about Kyrie's father. Okay.
And his mother played volleyball.
Okay.
At Boston University, and his mom died in '96 at the age of 29.
His dad
turned 30 now.
His dad just turned 56. His dad was born January 12th, 1966. Just turned 56.
Did you know about his mom? You knew about his mom, right?
I didn't know about his mom. No.
His mom died in '96. She's a former volleyball player. So you know how you say they breed these athletes together? So a basketball player, volleyball player, and I think his mom got some Native American in her herself, and she died in '96 when he was 4 years old. And that's why I think the reason why he was born in Australia, I think his father was playing basketball in Australia. That's probably why he was born in Australia.
Huh. His mom died out here by us in Tacoma, Washington. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
So I just thought that was interesting with Kyrie, with his background, with his father and his mother. Just like you say, always got to be some type of sacrifice in it, some type of way. And plus, they went to Boston University. You know what Boston University is at?
Sure, and he played for the Celtics as well. So interesting. I didn't realize that about his dad before.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's basic. I really had too much to say. That's the only thing I picked up on.
His dad started playing basketball in 1984. Go figure. All right.
But just like you said, it was just interesting that he just turned 30 and his father is 56 right now. Like, damn, that's kind of crazy that he just turned 30 and now he can be able to play home and his father's 56. You think that's coincidence, right?
Not at all. As we know, not at all. Not at all. So, and that means when his mom died, the dad was 30. So.
Oh, exactly. Oh my God. So maybe the Nets will be in the finals.
It's possible. Jordan's from Brooklyn. That's something to think about. They're doing a lot of stuff with Jordan this year. So.
Mm-hmm.
All right, great observations. Yeah, great observations. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, the man always has great observations. Let's go out to 310. Here's another man with great observations. 310, you're on.
Hi, Zach. How's it going tonight?
It's going well. Thanks for calling back.
Yeah, good show so far. You know what? I think Sunday, my prediction is the Sunday shows are going to end up overtaking this Wednesday TFR in popularity. I think the Sunday show is great, and I apologize for my bandwidth just couldn't keep up. I guess the cabal was rerouting my signal through the rings of Saturn, so I was on like a 5 or 6 second delay. Get it? 5 or 6?
Sure.
Anyway, it seems like it's kind of more like an all-star practice session or something, and no trolls, because the trolls are such pussies. They would never show their face and have 9 other wrenches there with you to cack on them. So that's my prediction anyway for the the Sunday show. For that woman who just called, Barbara, you're not a murderer. The soul doesn't incarnate till the 13th week, which is the first trimester. That's why it was illegal before to have an abortion after the first trimester. Trimester, like trident, like trilogy, like Trinity. So it's all about the number 3. And Barbara, if you want to know more about reincarnation, check out back.
Yeah, you're on.
Is it back?
You're on it. It's breaking up a little bit.
See what they do that to me every time. Did you get the stuff about the Trinity and the trilogy and the trimester? Did everybody hear that?
Just say it all over one more time.
Okay, so how's the signal right now? Good?
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay. So what I was saying is, Barbara, you're not a murderer. The soul does not incarnate till the 13th week in the womb into the pine cone. And that's why it used to be illegal to have a abortion after the first trimester, and trimester like Trinity, like trilogy, like trident. So it's all about 3 again. And if Barbara, if you want to know more about reincarnation, look into the Ethiopian Bible. It's much older. It's like 700 years old, so it's older. And before a lot of books were taken out, and it's not as redacted, so they still have the self-God thing, the reincarnation, and a lot of other things in that Bible. If you want to, it's very Gnostic oriented, the Egyptian Bible. But anyhow, I have a couple things here. I have like one bigger decode that's going to like encompass the Sumerian tablets and the duality, why there's a duality. I kind of touched on this before, how the duality and the meanings of stuff is from the original energetic predisposition plus the history. So that's where you're getting kind of the duality. And I'm just going to do that as like one decode on another, probably like on another day. And I just want to kind of like do my own little housekeeping of a bunch of little notes that I had for probably the last couple of weeks of just your shows, just things you mentioned that I either didn't call in to say or, you know, just didn't get a chance to talk about. The one caller you had, I don't even know if it was this week or whatever, he was talking about the Rothschilds being associated with the Orsini family. The Rothschilds' name is Bauer. They changed their name from Bauer to Redshield in Frankfurt, Germany, when they got all the gold, people who had a lot of gold in Europe to will them their gold so they could loan it out to kings and princes to, you know, fight wars against each other and make a bunch of money, charge them interest. So they're Bauer, they're Nazis. And then the Bush family is Scherf. Prescott Bush was George Scherf Sr. originally before he changed his name. So these are, the Bauers aren't part of Project Paperclip, but the Bush family certainly is. What else? The obelisks. The obelisks, we've been told through a lot of this New Age stuff that it's like phallic symbols and all that. They're antennas. Those are ancient antennas. That's why they, you know, chopped one down from Egypt and brought it to Washington, D.C. It's like kind of a thing they do with sacrilege, which is a lot of these archetypal things they do. They take something that's positive like Venus or Jupiter, and then they'll put a double like negative archetypal meaning on top of it as well, like kind of like their way of defacing, or, you know, look at what they did to the Sphinx, same thing, just deface everything that was there originally to change the meaning of it. And the peacock thing, peacock is a symbol of like male strength. That's why it's peacock, you know, cock, and then you got twin cocks, like twin pillars. So this is part of their, you know, age of Pisces, male perversion, male dominant, energetic predisposition. That's kind of why they're using those peacocks. And I never heard you mention, I'm sure you probably did, I'm just still kind of new, that the Pope has a pine cone on the top of his staff, like on a skewer, like you know, like our pineal gland is on a skewer, and then they have that huge pine cone statue in the back, which is their biggest statue. Some of this other stuff that I had written down. Remember that story you did on the Lucy, the first ever black college student dying? That was a total mockery of the first black human Lucy, the transitional species that they tell us through to push the obvious crap of evolution or whatever, when they show that, like, I don't know, it's like a half monkey, half human or whatever. And then they have the Lucy movie where at the end of the movie, she meets that monkey. What else? Oh, naming this robot Sophia and mass producing it. This is a mockery on us because they burned down the Gnostic library. Basically, all these movies are coming out of the Gnosticism. They burned down the Gnostic library in Alexandria, Egypt, so we wouldn't have all this knowledge, and they replaced it with the religions. So within that Gnostic text, in the piece that Sophia is about conjuring demons and creating the main demon Yaldabaoth, or YHVH, the Yod, or whatever, the Tetragrammaton. So Sophia is lured into creating the demon, or bringing forth the demon, which is supposedly this Yaldabaoth octopus that we have, that surrounds the earth and is basically controlling this whole solar system, and we live within the belly of this, which is producing, this Lucifer matrix, and is kind of like saturated with lower astral parasites and demons, which are affecting our consciousness, and we can't see them or anything like that. And it's all coming from our stomach. In the Talmud, it talks about these evil rabbis should eat pork off the floor and stuff so they could have a lot of parasites in their stomach, because these parasites are on the same frequency as the demons. So therefore, they're going to be acting out what the demons want, because our intuition comes from our gut. That's why it's called a gut feeling. And also our courage comes from our gut. That's why it's called having guts. So if our intuition and our courage is linked to demons, obviously we're not going to be doing too well. So this is also where Mark Passio says he got his name for the Church of Satan, Mark Rokar. Rokar is one of the demons in the Pista Sophia. What else do I got written down here? Oh, also he talks a lot about this dark occultist or whatever, and Rambo kind of alluded to this as well. The black nobility families are like the ones who would be above the Jesuits, if there's, if you want to call something above the Jesuits. The Jesuits are like their working class slaves, and they are, the royalty who don't have to work. Like the Pallavicini family is very much responsible for controlling the Jesuits, although all 13 families kind of play a part. Like they have consider it like a round table they have, or like their Algonquin evil round table, and then okay, that's what's going to be done, and then they tell the Pallavicini family, who's like kind of just spreads it out amongst the working Jesuits. But these people are not working or anything like that. Most people wouldn't even really know their names. And like the Farneses created the Jesuit name. I can't remember if it was in the 1300s or whatever. And then before it wasn't called the Jesuits. And then the Borghese families also plays a big part in that one as well. But these 13 families are what's really what's really holding the spear, and then the Jesuits would be like the head of the spear. And conversely, on the good side, the incarnation of Yeshua, who was supposed to be from Sirius A and was, called upon by the Venusian hierarchy to come over here and incarnate and teach humanity like how to really be and stuff, and how to fight evil. So there's a whole lot of Gnostic esoteric stuff that's been totally, you don't even really hear it in the New Age stuff. I wish that was our Bible. Our real Bible would be like the Gnostic text, which kind of explains what's going on, how we're being attacked through our consciousness, mostly through our gut. That's why they control the whole food supply and all this stuff. Let me see if I have anything else. I want to throw all these little notes away that I have just like one thing left to say. Oh, the Knights Templar. So my whole feeling based on all my research is that any positive group throughout history was taken over by the cabal, either killed off or forced into hiding. They killed some of them off and the rest forced into hiding, and then they would just take over their name and use it as their own. So like the Illuminati were originally Leonardo da Vinci, and that was like 1450 to 1550-ish era. And they were using the symbol of the eye and whatever. And these guys were, you look at Da Vinci's work, he had stuff that people still can't understand now. And then a negative group started using that in 1775. And by the way, I told you this probably one of my first calls, that, the Bavarian Illuminati were actually established in Bavaria in 1775. And then the second chapter was established in the Skull and Bones. And Alfred Weber did a show on this about many years ago now, probably 10 years ago. He went to school with Dick Cheney, while Dick Cheney was, another probably Skull and Bones member unofficially. But he said that that's what these guys were doing. That's what these guys were talking about back then, that the Illuminati established over there and then came over here. They preempted the whole Francis Bacon revolution and knew it was going to happen, so they started over there in 1775 and then brought a bunch of their agents over here, including Weishaupt, to start the second chapter and kind of proliferate that throughout. And the Knights Templar, originally I have as being good guys who guarded the temple, Knights of the Temple, Knights Templar, and then they were murdered on Friday the 13th, why now Friday the 13th is considered like a negative day to us, or unlucky day. And then they just took over all their money and just called themselves the Knights Templar and assumed their logo, the cross, and now they're all of a sudden the bad guys, just like the original Illuminated guys are now the Illuminati, the bad guys. So the same thing has gone on with like the astrology as well. They've placed negative connotations over certain planets and certain astrological archetypes due to certain things that have happened in history, and just straight libel on some of it. Just accuse, like Goebbels said, accuse your enemy of that which you are guilty of yourself. Just completely inverting things. I think that's where I'll stop, and then next week I'll get into, or even maybe on the Sunday show, I'll get into this other one, which is like a whole ongoing one detailed topic that'll kind of be have a little more flow than me just kind of going back and forth with all kinds of just disjointed just facts that I have written down from like the last 3 weeks or month of shows. So I think I'll leave it at that.
Okay, I appreciate it. And the Sunday show, when you join us, if you could bring some information about the 1775 Illuminati. I was trying to look that up last time you said it, and I was having trouble finding any information. But I'd like to know more about that, because that was news to me the first time you said it. I always thought it was May 1st, 1776, but you're saying that's Chapter 2. So I look forward to that on Sunday, and thanks as always, friend.
Yeah, and Sunday maybe it's a good one to do, how to get rid of and not get tinnitus would probably be a good one for Sunday, because everybody that you get on there, that little all-star team, is all people that are on the computer constantly decoding, so you'd be like the most susceptible to that. So I think that's a good time to talk about that as well.
All right. Appreciate it. Yeah, I look forward to it. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Have a great night. Good show.
Yeah, you too. Take care. All right, let's go out to 515. You're on 515. Iowa, 515.
Hello?
Hello, you're on.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
You can hear me, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay, not bad. Are you familiar with the massive war games NATO's holding currently right now in Norway?
No, war games in Norway right now. No, I was not aware.
Yeah, right now NATO's currently hosting these large war games with 30,000 troops in Norway, and after this meeting, they said that they're going to boost up the eastern flank from places like Romania, Bulgaria, Slovakia. So real warmongering, you know. But that wasn't what I wanted to say. This was like a. Are you familiar with the show on Netflix called Occupied?
No.
It's this Norwegian show about this global energy crisis going on right now. And Norway stops using fossil fuels, and they go to something called thorium. And thorium is the Norse god of war and fertility, Thor. And it's like a parallel universe. When this is going on, the EU puts sanctions on Norway, the same way how we're seeing them put sanctions on Russia. And actually in that show, the EU uses Russia to go into Norway, invade them, and occupy there and help them get their resources like the oil and gas built up again. And while this is all currently going on, it's like the collapse of NATO on the show. So I just thought it was like interesting. Like, it's funny how that's going on in that show, and this is happening right now, like a parallel universe.
Huh. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, that's all I wanted to say. Good show tonight. Thank you.
All right. Appreciate your contribution. Thanks for the heads up. You have a good night, friend.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Take care.
You too.
All right. Let's go out to California, 562. All right, looks like they're just listening. Let's go out to California again, 707.
What's up?
Hey, what's up? Yeah, I hear you.
It's Brian, man, on the Sunday show. What's up, bud?
Hey, man, thanks for calling in.
Of course. It's kind of rudimentary again. It's funny, someone was speaking about the 54 earlier. Geneva, that equals 54.
Yeah.
Obviously, this all goes to the World Economic Forum, right?
Yeah.
These people that have never been elected They're totally in control. They're literally telling us what's going on.
Just for the record, for the record, Bavaria is 54, Geneva's 54, Jesuit Order's 54. Think about the Bavarian Illuminati created by the Jesuit, and we know 54 is the sun number. All these rituals in accordance with the sun. But yeah, Geneva and Bavaria are both 54.
Mr. Neutral, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, well, why are you so neutral? Is the question, right?
Wait, who's
you're
so
benefiting
neutral?
from both sides, most likely? Sorry.
Who's so neutral?
Switzerland, because that's where Geneva is,
Oh,
right?
sure. Yeah.
You know, like, why are you so neutral? You guys are benefiting from both sides, is my guess.
Right.
You know? That's the only important thing. Like, otherwise, when I started, like, looking into, because I was trying to do video games, but I don't have enough time for that. But something I actually do know a lot, I was just messing around. I started looking at Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z and then Super, and there's a lot of numbers. Like, and I'm talking about, like, 47 comes up a lot.
Okay.
I'm trying to also, I know the big news today, it was on Call that was talking about it. A lot of people, you know, the whole 3-2-2 yesterday with the whole New World Order Biden, right?
Right.
Yeah, like, so there was a Illuminati card, and I'm shocked I didn't think about it either. But it was like imposter, and it kind of looks like a dude with the white hair, and he's got the thing with the neck, so that's kind of going around with conspiracies right now.
Okay.
Where it's not him. But then I typed in imposter, and then in full reduction, that's 43 forwards, and in backwards, it's 47. And then it's also in the reverse ordinal, it's 101. And I'm like, these are all big numbers. Imposter, and like that's like the overall thought. Like, there's an imposter in our government, there's an imposter in our way of life, and that's what's screwing us over. It's kind of something I've been thinking about.
Sure.
But I just wanted to get back to that Dragon Ball thing real quick. I'm gonna go very quick, simple. Like Goku. Yeah, obviously you don't even have to watch Dragon Ball. You hear the name Goku, you know who that is. 54 forwards and backwards, by the way, in regular English.
Okay.
And then where the newest, this isn't the newest, it's not the latest. It's in the manga. They don't have it in the show yet. But his name is Moro. He's like this guy, he's like this entity of a dude that when he goes to a planet, he sucks the life out of it and makes power out of it. He also equals 47. And it was just interesting, like, how this is playing out right now in this show. And like, and without Gematria, I've seen like the storyline of what's going on in the world just by looking at the show. I'm like, oh, you mean Moro? He has a ram head. I'm not even kidding with you. He was the newest thing last year in the manga. And he sucks the life out of the planet he's on. I'm like, well, that's kind of what's going on right now. Whatever's in control, they're sucking the life out of us. And they're taking it for their own benefit. That's what's going on. That, to me, is what's Gematria. That's why they're rigging the numbers in their way.
Sure, that's a theory, yeah.
You know, like, it is a theory, like I said. Yeah, I'm not sitting here, I'm saying I know what's going on. I'm trying to be quick because I know always on TFR we want to try to be fast, so sorry.
That's okay. Well, I appreciate the thoughts, and I'm sure you'll join us again on Sunday, so I appreciate it, Brian. Thank you.
All right, Zach, you have a good night, bud.
Yeah, you too, man. Take care. All right, let's go out to 408. 408, you're on.
All right, good evening, Zach.
Good evening.
Well, so even though I have a California phone number, I'm currently living in Texas, and I keep I pay a little bit of attention to University of Texas sports, and and I think that what I'm presenting here would be a good riddle for what I think the national championship in basketball is going to be this year.
Okay.
So starting off back on November 13th, there was a college football game between Kansas and Texas. and Kansas won 57-56. And at the time, I thought it was foreshadowing a Super Bowl between the Chiefs and the Cowboys because they're 113 combined points. Los Angeles CA equals 113, Dallas equals 113. Texas had 56 points, like Super Bowl 56. But looking at it now, I think it may have been foreshadowing the college basketball national championship. As we saw, the Super Bowl was 4 seed versus 4 seed on the 44th day of the year. And this year, the national championship game is on April 4th, or 4-4. And that same day of that Texas-Kansas football game, Texas men's basketball lost to Gonzaga, and the score is 74-86. And so that's 160 combined points. With numerology, take out the 0, it's 16, which is like 4 times 4 for the date of the national championship, 4-4, which, and also that day, November 13th, was 142 days before the national championship game. Coronavirus equals 142, and obviously April 4th is the 94th day of the year. Coronavirus pandemic equals 94. And I know you talked about earlier how Bill Gates' dad died at age 94, and now we could possibly see the team from Bill Gates' state make it or even win the national championship. And why does Texas connect to this? Well, it's because Texas Longhorns and pandemic both equal 65. And of course, the Final Four is in New Orleans this year. And relating back to 142, just the number 40, if you write out 42 as a word, it equals 142 in the semifinals. So like the Final Four games are on April 2nd, 4/2. And of course, there's been a lot of historically black things related in New Orleans. So I think it could be I think that Kansas Gonzaga based on that has a good riddle to be the national championship game matchup.
What would be funny is if those two teams met. The two head coaches of those teams, Mark Few with Gonzaga and Bill Self with Kansas, they were both born on the exact same day in the exact same year. So interesting. All right, man. I appreciate it.
All right. Talk to you later.
All right. Take care. Let's go out to Ontario, Canada. What's up, Canada?
Hey, are you talking to me?
It's you.
Awesome. Not much. I just got back from the whole crazy Ottawa thing, just kind of getting back into the work swing, back over. We followed the convoy up. But anyways, I have a bigger view of freedom. I've been fighting against these sun worshippers for a long time. And because of different things pulled me into it. But anyways, I see how these 7 holidays are going to play out for real. And I see just like Jesus had 7 holidays in Leviticus 23, like Passover, wave, sheep, first fruits, and played them out in his 42 months. I see the devil has 42 months. And literally every holiday will start with 4th of July and end at Easter. And everyone will be right after the false Christ and led out by the false Christ. And literally convince the world more and more that God lives in the sun and that Jesus lives in the moon. They literally eat moon cookies. And we know it's a moon cookie in the Catholic Mass, because there's so much evidence. Even anything that holds their host, which is hostage, hosta in their own encyclopedias, it's called a luna, L-U-N-A. Whether it's a crescent moon holder for their host or whether it's 2 pieces of sort of glass to make an eclipse out of, which are symbolic of the eclipses that are going to happen when they bring down their false son of God in the summer, their false father is Santa in the winter, and their false mother on the last Easter of the last holiday. So I do this hashtag no sun worship, and I show how all the holidays are going to play out for real and how each one, and how the prophets are in the music. So it's not just the numbers that are symbolic of so many things, but also the words. And we get mixed up because there's Catholics and Protestants, like the Beatles are Catholics and the Rolling Stones are Protestants. Metallica's Catholics, Megadeth's Protestants. One sounds like a symphony orchestra and warns us of what's coming, and the other one hypnotizes and mesmerizes, worships the sun, and the basic stuff we would see from a selfish point of view. because it's the Wizard of Oz theology that they have, like God is just like us, we can be just like him, and they believe that he lives in our sun city right above us, and that his child lives in the moon city, and that the priest, as the parents of God, call him down and turn him into a newborn baby, and turn him into a little moon disc that everybody eats. And then on certain occasions, they have the sun on a stick, the monstrance, and they literally make an eclipse. And it's parallel too, like the holidays are, the 7 and the 7. Just like Jesus had the lamb being killed again and again, that pointed to his big day dying on the cross for us in our place. The devil's big day is coming down from a sun-moon eclipse, this black hole sun that Chris Cornell warned us about. It's going to be on a summer solstice, and it's always summertime. American Pie, black hole sun, painted black, Bob Dylan's Under the Red Sky. You know, there's an old man that lives in the moon. He's going to come pass by one summer day. So anyways, and the false father always comes in the wintertime. He's the midnight rambler, like coming down your marble chimney. There's blood splatter on presents. Don't do it, don't do it. So when we study the original Christmas, people literally fast and pray, and the days get shorter and shorter, and they sacrifice to the sun god. People that don't worship the sun and a virgin, too, for the ultimate one. So these things are coming, is what I'm saying, in huge adult ways. They're just symbolic kids play right now. And also they got an Iron Man suit. So when you put the music together, you see like Pearl Jam's bad, Soundgarden's good. And I say bad because I'm biased. I'm a Protestant, like an old school Protestant. And I don't believe in the sand and the universe of gods, and I'm one of them. And I can work my way up to being, through reincarnations, into being my own sun god, and evolution my own world, have my friends from other worlds that are not ready to be gods as my angels. And literally they believe that we can be just like our God, and he was at one time just like us. And it's not just like we think, Mormons. It's all of these guys at the highest levels think they're gods and that we're peons. And they try to even suppress guys because then they got to be a few more generations before because it's a universe of competing gods, not just gods. But as a Protestant, I believe in one true God. And I believe other Protestant things too. Like it's like Walter Weiss type stuff, we're in and of a cursed, corrupt world, and we can't be anything else but cursed and corrupt without God working through us or living in us if we're saved. And this any genuine act of love or kindness is God, literally the Creator working through us and living in us if we're on his side. But religion just comes down to selfishness and love. But so I also show not just how all the prophets are in the music, but how they're in symbolism. And we get thrown off because a lot of the symbolism is unique, sounds bad. Like cigarettes are incense going up, they're prayers, and a gun is the new sword. So a bullet in the head's a doctrine we believe. And even a lot of these names, like 9 Inch Nails, are the nails that nailed Christ to the cross. And so anyways, a woman is a church, but an old woman's an old church, a middle-aged like a Roman church, middle-aged like a Baptist, and the 12-year-olds always represents, or the young girl, a freshly resurrected church or formed church, which we're going to see when persecution starts. And so anyways, in Black Hole Sun, the video, you see all three, but they're the false ones because there's the God's version and then the devil always has a counterfeit. Even God City is a pyramid and the devil counterfeits it, Everything is counterfeited, everything, even their Christ. China made a superhuman suit, an Iron Man suit, and it's got Putin inside because China's the dragon and the beast power is Rome. And I prove it and I show it in my videos if you hashtag No Sun Worship. But and Rome is the beast power. They're the Antichrist power with Francis, and he'll get zapped with a young body and in front of everyone. And the real one sitting there back on a beach drinking margaritas watching the show. And the same way with Trump. The U.S. I show is the false prophet, the Trump, they're the image of the beast. The woman or the church controlling the government or riding the beast. So I started off as a Christian and diving into this stuff. And it just spun me into the music. And I realized, wow, these musicians are prophets and teachers, especially Bob Dylan. He's our biggest prophet. And he's the one that defines all the symbolism for everyone. He's like the biggest spoon man. And Chris Cornell was too. He would say a line with like flowers, like limo wreck. Talks about the two suns in the sky, the shelf of the sky. Talks about how he's going to die first and then all of you actually collect the flowers. And then he'll say it again with souls instead of flowers. So he's telling us flowers are symbolic of souls. But there's new stuff too, not just Bible stuff, like a phone call's a prayer. And then there's extensions of stuff. south is bad. It's Egypt. You're walking away from God. But if you're going to Mexico, you're knowingly going to sin. If you're going to Louisiana, you're going downtown. But Midtown is that back and forth. You know, that good, bad. It's or Tennessee, and then North and Country Roads is always the details are amazing and immense. And when you look, even like whiskey is symbolic of heavy doctrines. You know, it's the meat, and then the milk is the basics. The red wine makes you feel so fine. And they throw in these clues like he's so in love with this red wine because it's the blood of Christ.
Friend, I really appreciate the call and the way you speak, but my man, we got to let some other people in here. So again, there's always next
God
week.
bless you. I can go on forever.
Yeah, I can tell. Again, there's other people on hold though, you guys. Again, I don't like to be rude and cut people off, but again, I say the same thing every week. If you can keep your call to 2 minutes, it's great. Thank you, friend. Have a good night.
Yep.
All right, let's go out to 908. 908. We got a minute and a half left. What's going on?
Yo, Zach, what's going on, man?
Hey, what's up? We're almost out of the show. We got a minute left.
This is all right. I'm gonna try to make it. I'm gonna try to make it quick. But this is something I wanted to call in since maybe the Super Bowl. I feel like it might be something that we could look at going forward. They threw the day before the Super Bowl. They had a flag football game that Brett Favre and Mike Vick threw in. They were the quarterbacks for the game, and they had some like social media influencers play, and they encoded 34 so heavy in it. That's why I wanted to talk to you about it because, you know, this past month after the Super Bowl, you've been heavy on 34. It was in the Crypto Center in Los Angeles, 34. Number 34 had 4 picks and 3 were returned for a touchdown on Brett Favre. I probably would have needed more time to really explain it. I wanted you to see the highlights and see how blatantly like rigged it is. But yeah, the show is about over, so
well,
I wanted to say that.
There's always next week to call in for more, and you guys are always welcome to join the Sunday show, the new thing we're doing as well. But I do appreciate it, friend. Great observation, and too bad we ran out of time.
Yeah. All right, Zach.
All right, you have a good night. Thank you.
You too.
We got 10 seconds left. One last caller. Oh, yeah. 661, you got anything to say before the show ends?
Yeah, thanks. We need to look into Atlantis because North Atlantic Treaty Organization, all this stuff goes back to Atlantis. I find it interesting that Barbados is in, there, and all these these people believe in Atlantis. Sir Francis Bacon wrote The New Atlantis.
Indeed.
And anyways, we need to look into that.
Great.
We need to look into that because even Joseph Smith, the Mormon prophet, said that Atlantis was in the Gulf of Mexico.
Perfect.
And I'll
That's
leave
the
you
end of
with
the
that.
show.
Thanks, Zach.
Yeah, great way to close us out. You have a good night. Thank you. All right. Here's what's weirding me out. I just saw in the chat that somebody said that Jordan Maxwell died. The TFR show is over, but the YouTube stream is still going. Somebody said, I saw that Jordan Maxwell died in the chat, and you know what's weird? I started dreaming this past week. Like, I haven't dreamed in forever, but I was dreaming about, like, being in high school again. Or who knows, maybe I dream all the time, but I don't normally remember my dreams. But I've been waking up and remembering my dreams. And what's weird is last night I dreamed that I did an interview with Jordan Maxwell. And Jordan Maxwell on his website, I signed up to do an interview with him. It was a while back now. And he even had the warning on there when I signed up that he's in ill health. This is probably over a year ago now. But he had the warning on there that he's in ill health and he won't be doing as many interviews. But if you'd like to interview with him, to sign up for the information. And I guess I should have done this many years ago. But I was really hoping to talk with Jordan Maxwell someday about my research. Because, again, he's big on the Vatican and Jesuits. And, he'll forever be remembered for the Lincoln and Kennedy comparison. And in my first book, I take his thing and add on to it with the gematria knowledge. But Jordan Maxwell reportedly dead today, March 23rd. And I know he has been sick for a while. It's possible he's passed naturally. Hopefully that is the case. But I got to just look. I just got to look. Jordan Maxwell, it's too bad. Did Jordan Maxwell get the honor of a Wikipedia page? He's got an IMDb, huh? For The Truth Is Out There, Metaphysia. But yeah, it's just funny. I dreamed about Jordan Maxwell. That was the last time I slept. I had a dream about Jordan Maxwell. I thought I was doing the interview with him. And then what do you know? You wake up and he's dead. That's why life is weird, just how things like that happen. But yeah, Jordan Maxwell didn't have a Wikipedia page, which is probably a good sign. Born December 28th. So that means he's dead today. Today is the 82nd day of the year. So he's dead 85 days after his birthday, which means he's dead on his 86th day of his age. And that is curious. He was in his 82nd year of life, dead at 82, or dead on the 82nd day of the year. That's too bad. So. Well, that's too bad. I did hope. I was hoping that one day I'd get the response email from Jordan Maxwell that he was ready to do the interview. That's too bad he's passed. So. This thing right here is the same thing for his birthday. This write-up for him says, Jordan Maxwell continues as a preeminent researcher and independent scholar in the field of occult religious philosophy. His interest in these things began as far back as 1959. He served for 3.5 years as the religion editor of Truth Seeker magazine. Hey. America's oldest free thought journal since 1873. His work exploring the hidden foundations of Western religions and secret societies creates enthusiastic responses from audiences around the world. Manly P. Hall also used the term truth seeker. Where I learned to use truth seeker from is this guy right here, Mike Malloy, radio personality out of Georgia. I used to listen to his show. Wait, not the Mike Malloy who's dead. This Mike Malloy who's alive. From Toledo, Ohio, born July 1st, 42. But Mike Malloy's been on the radio for many a years. He always opens up with True Seeker. He's actually who I first heard use that phrase, and I liked it. And again, just a guy that always made me laugh and kept me somewhat sane in the world. But coming back to the Jordan Maxwell write-up, he has conducted dozens of intensive seminars, hosted his own radio talk shows, guested on more than 600 radio shows, and written, produced, and appeared in numerous television shows and documentaries, including 3 2-hour specials for the CBS TV network, as well as the internationally acclaimed 5-part Ancient Mystery series, all devoted to understanding ancient religions and their pervasive influence on world affairs today. His work on the subject of secret societies, both ancient and modern, and their symbols has fascinated audiences around the world for decades. Considering the rapidly moving events of today and the very real part that hidden religious agendas play in our modern war-torn world, he feels these controversial subjects are not only interesting to explore, but too important to ignore. His extraordinary presentations include documents and photographs seldom seen elsewhere. Jordan's areas of interest include astrotheology, sexual symbolism in world religions, foundations for modern-day religion, secret societies and toxic religion, world mysteries, ancient and modern, ancient symbols and occult emblems, ancient sciences and technology, hidden Bible teachings and mysteries, the sun in the history of politics and religion, the story your church doesn't want you to know, secret societies and their influence on world events. And again, if you're not familiar with the work of Jordan Maxwell, it's a great compliment to what I and others do. And yeah, that's just so weird. Like, just this week I started remembering my dreams. It's just so rare for me to remember a dream. But yeah, that's what I dreamed about last night, that I did an interview with Jordan Maxwell. And then he passes. How strange. You need a good welcome back, True Seeker? Well, just rewind to the beginning of any show. Stephen Manning would be a great interview. He's fighting the cabal in Ireland right now. Okay, Bali, you can talk to us about that this coming weekend. So, I think we'll leave it there for tonight. Let me say thank you to the people who did super chats. Again, thank you for the generosity as always. Racked up another $13 for the gas tank here. Got the big expensive drive coming. I don't know. I know somebody donated $3.22, but it's only showing Hess85 with a $5 donation. Thank you, and the Underwear Taker with a $5 donation. Again, I do appreciate the generosity and appreciate the compliment, Asif. Thank you to everyone who joined the show tonight. Thank you to all the mods in the chat. And again, thank you to everyone who hit the like button and the shares. And remember to support the other people in the community doing the work. Richard Quinn in the chat. He's on Facebook. If you find Richard Quinn, you'll find him. He's the Gematria enthusiast. He's got some pretty spiffy business cards, and he's doing it on my behalf, which I appreciate. You know, it's not something I put him up to, but he likes to get out the word by pounding pavement on the corner and handing out business cards. And again, he always appreciates when people reach out and show interest in the cards. Glad you guys enjoyed the show. And again, the one thing that could make the show better each week is if people called in and just got more efficient. You know, if you just call them with one great idea, one great question, I always think those are the best calls. When you get tangential and go to 10 different topics and you just keep going on and on and on until I got to cut you off, it's just frustrating for me because it's like, what doesn't this person get about the request I make every single week? And again, for those of you guys who have a lot of knowledge and stuff to say, it's not that I don't want you to say it on my show. It's just, you know, be respectful of the other people waiting on hold. And since you have so much to say and you are well-spoken, don't you think maybe you should be putting out content in the world somewhere, not just waiting for my show on Wednesday? Maybe you do that because you want enough people to hear it, but, you know, like for the gentleman who I had to cut off, he's very well-spoken and he has a lot of knowledge. I bet you if he started a YouTube channel, it would do well in due time. So, yeah, don't be afraid to start your guys' own platforms, and as you know, I'll be happy to promote them. So, yeah, that's it for now. And this is what the T-shirt looks like that I made for Oklahoma City. So you can let me know what you think of it. But it's the Jesuits Did It T-shirt, and on the back it has the dates for Waco, Oklahoma City, and 9/11 because all of those rituals can clearly be explained in light of the Jesuits Did It framework, along with many other events. So, yeah, we'll leave it there for now, True Seeker, and I think I'll sleep on it. I might announce tomorrow that I'm going to be gone for a while, just because I almost just want to, like, I wish that there was, like, some room I could just go in where my phone wasn't there and there was no TV or computer or anything there, and I could just focus on finishing the book, because it's so close to being finished, it's just not quite right, and I keep learning all this new stuff and wanting to put it in. I really just need to finish the book, and it's just, if you've never written a book, I mean, writing's a challenging thing, and then when you're doing research and more's coming in and you just want to keep making it better, you can maybe understand how I've gotten in the cycle I have where I have not finished the book for the last 3 months. And there's even another part of me right now that's going like, maybe you should just start all over with all the information you have now, but I've done this in the past too. Anyway, I just need, you know, some days where all I look at is the book, and I know I could be done in 3 to 5 days. So I might tomorrow upload and say, hey guys, I'm going to be gone for a little bit to just finish the book, and I'm really not going to come back until I'm done. But we'll see. I tried to do that about a month ago, and it didn't work out so well. So anyway, we'll leave it there for now. Yeah, the T-shirt I'm wearing, you can get. It's at my website. If you want to get the T-shirt, again, I know I think about 20 of them have sold so far. There's about 20 people who bought this T-shirt. I imagine most of them will be in Oklahoma City. But it's just on my website, GematriaEffectNews. On a cell phone, there's a drop-down menu. On a computer, there's the windows or the tabs you see up at the top. If you click merch, the Jesuits Did It t-shirts there. And again, on the back, it's got the dates and GematriaEffect.news. Got to promote the work a little bit. So anyway, it's not going to win the fashion piece of the year, but it's got the message and the right guy's face on it. Again, April 19th. That's Ignatius of Loyola, if you were wondering who that is. The founder of the Jesuits, April 19th, the day he became the first superior general. The day we'll be educating in Oklahoma City. So really, ultimately, the t-shirt is meant to be a conversation starting piece for the people we engage with in the city that day. And Outlaw X says, just please don't forget to do the Patreon. We can handle the news decodes. I'm not exactly sure what you mean. Like the Patreon sports tournament stuff I've been doing, I won't forget to do that. If that's what you meant. Yeah, I'll come back for that. So, Asif says, please just finish the book. Por favor, even gave me the Spanish. Okay. All right, guys. We'll leave it there for tonight. And, yeah. Till next time, Truth Seeker.